gentlemen, boys and girls, everybody, from all around the world, hello and welcome to another episode of The Welch Report with me, your host, John Lucas. Let's make some noise, everybody. Clap it up, get excited wherever you are. We're back, we're here, we're live, and we're ready to have us. Oh, wait, hold on, somebody say audio pop. Hold on, wait a minute. Wait a second, hold on, audio. Whoa, hold on, whoa. Okay, hello? Nope. Oh, it's still out. Let's turn that down a little bit. Hello. I think we should be where we're supposed to be. It's still ticking up a little bit. Hold on a second. It's still going up. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Hold on. Let me give me a chance to fix this, and I'll be right back. Hold on right now. Give me a couple seconds. All right. Hello. It's still, why is it, I think. Are we good? Let me make sure everybody can hear me. Is the audio back and okay at a doable level now? Okay. All right. Thank gosh. I don't know what happened. I don't know what transpired. Everything was set up just as normal. I don't know why all of a sudden it sounds like I'm talking into the ether. Either way, though, we're back, we're here, we're live. We're going to give you the show that you deserve. So, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you joining in on our show, and thank you for showing up on our live stream today. Hopefully, you're having a phenomenal time. Hopefully, you're enjoying the show. Hopefully, you're going to have yourselves an entertaining event and venue as we got boxing coverage, sports to jump into, and a whole host of discussion and debate that we have to now fully jump into the world of boxing and beyond. We got Devin Haney going up against the likes of now what looks to be Keyshawn Davis, as he has officially signed with Zuffa Boxing in totality, after reported by Sean Zito and Dan Raphael, I think multiple other sources also. And this leads to the question with Shakur: where is Shakur in all of this stuff? Is he now left out in the dust and left out in the pasture with all of the potential fights that he would have had now going through and being potentially obsolete and gone to nowhere. We want to not obsolete, but him on the other side of the street isn't a big concern. We enjoy you all being here. We're happy that you all are joining in on our show with us today, and we appreciate you joining in on our live stream. And if you would, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. That's right. Come and be a part of the hottest show in all of the globe, right here on YouTube and on every podcasting platform imaginable. Rate us 5 stars wherever you listen to podcasts, whether it's Apple, Spotify, you name it, we are there. And if we're not there, tell us we'll get there. Absolutely. Leave a like on the video. One like makes a world of difference on our show to help us to grow and flourish and shine throughout the globe in terms of the sports and boxing community. And if you can support the channel, like some of y'all already have right here on our stream, please. And we thank you so much for the jewels, for the gifts, and for all the checks that you all are choosing to give to our show today. We appreciate it. If you want to keep on supporting the show like we've had with people already, like with Johnny Durag and Chone, come on through. Go. We got Cash App. Am I pointing the wrong way? Hold on. Am I pointing the right way? That was Cash App, PayPal, links down below in the description, super chat, super gifts, stickers, and the like, all for your viewing and listening pleasure to help us grow and make this show better and invest back into it so you all can witness and enjoy the best quality content and production quality imaginable around the globe. And please, I don't know what's happening with the audio. We're going to try to keep tabs on it. Be sure if I start peaking again, let me know so I can get it fixed. I do apologize because I don't know what shifted. We'll try to fix it during or after the show, but we'll just help me out if you can. But with all that being said, we got a lot of show to cover in a smaller amount of time to do it. And we got boxing to discuss and sports to dive into. So it's time to do what we do best, and it's time to step into the ring. That's right. It's time to work. It's time to shine. Ring the bell. Let's get it started. Round 1 of this show going underway. Wait, look. There we go, as we have to cover the biggest news, or one of the biggest news proponents of the day, which is the fact that Devin Haney seems to have officially signed with Zuffa. Not Zuffa. I'm sorry, DAZN. Wait a minute, I'm tripping. DAZN box. Whoa. I messed up immensely. Not Zuffa. I'm so sorry. DAZN. It's been DAZN. Okay, I'm expecting. Wait a second. Hold on a minute. Hold on. Yeah, you're right. Thank you. I'm sorry. I was writing my notes for the show regarding Zuffa and Shakur and Devin Haney with Top Rank under DAZN, and I recklessly put it in the title and in the thumbnail. My apologies. It's supposed to say. See, all of a sudden, what I tell you, all of a sudden, we start earlier, and now we are all out of sorts down the fence. Let me fix that right now, but as I'm fixing it, I will continue to talk. But he is signed seemingly officially with DAZN Boxing under the promotion with Top Rank and Bob Andom. Aaron, what did they do? Hey, great, phenomenal. Now we have all the big players of this pond of boxing just about solidified where they're going to be, and it is literally the world against Shakur, with Shakur signing with Zuffa. Now, in terms of the fight, with what this means for Devin Haney as a whole, this means one big thing, and that is the most likely the fight between Haney and Keyshawn is almost a absolute done deal without a doubt. Hey, I'm happy for that. I'll tell you what, I can say for certain, I'm glad about that. I am ecstatic because now we can finally put all these rumors of what potentially will or won't happen most likely to bed. And he's most likely going to fight Keyshawn Davis for his WBO title, already under a purse bid, and waiting to see how that whole thing delves out, but everybody's in-house, so we should get that fight going down easily. But before I continue, let me get you all's chats to make sure I don't miss anybody's action coming up, and we appreciate you all on the show, like Johnny Durag and Matt Borgeson. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for showing up, and thank you for showing out on our show with us today. Let me say again, Johnny for the 200 jewels. We appreciate it. Joan with the 10 jewels. We appreciate it absolutely once again for all the support to the channel. What's up to everybody in the chat, and salute to you. Shakur and Jai on Zuffa all alone, and that's the biggest thing with this. This was the final. They've been using puzzle pieces as the sentiments to try to show what's everybody signing and everybody under one roof with DAZN. They got the last puzzle piece with Top Rank. Now the last puzzle piece of a big time fighter is also with Top Rank, and Shakur is left just about in the dust, and I'm really scared this is going to affect him negatively. I'm telling you, this looks like a really bad situation from the outside looking in. If we're now seeing, again, reportedly, Devin Haney having $150 million to be able to, with his, again, allegedly, $150 or more million with this deal that he signed, including the fight with Keyshawn Davis and whatever future fights, however long it is. That's all well and good. But that's showing me, or at least giving me a concern, but a Shakur might not be able to get some of these fights that we're saying he needs to have, even with the freedom that we know he has with his contract with Zuffa. I can go and make fights with anybody. Yeah, absolutely. But is anybody going to want to make fights with you now that everybody, just about everybody, has their side of the street picked? And specifically, the promotional power is not in your favor with what you thought it would be going to Zuffa. It might be a concerning thing, and Shakur and Jai might be getting ready to find that out. Absolutely. Also, Chon, how you doing? And again, I do apologize for messing up. I meant to say DAZN, not Zuffa. I repeat, DAZN. He signed it with DAZN, not Zuffa Boxing. So again, thank you all. Let me see. Bro, do you think Ryan will sign with Zuffa now? And I don't know. And in all honesty, Ryan Garcia signing with Zuffa amongst all this drama is a potential 50-50 affair. And I say that because Ryan Garcia, as a fighter, is big enough to get every suitor to want to go and try to capture him. He also is somebody that is, I think he's said on the podcast, he's entertained the idea. Sure, I would be willing to go sign with Zuffa. Again, if I'm wrong, please correct me. But I believe he said that on a podcast. Was it Ariel Lawani or somebody? It might have been just a beat reporter that had a camera that he was talking to. Regardless of which, might be on Fight Hub TV, actually. Regardless, I think he's open to the idea. Will he do it is a matter of, for him, getting the big fights. Is it going to be possible? I think because he's been able to make this fight with Conor Benn, while under contract with Oscar De La Hoya, I don't think there is a need for him to have to go and sign with Zuffa, because I just showed without going under your banner, I can go and make whatever fight I want. So I don't necessarily need you to get all the fights that I need to have. And if I still want to fight Devin Haney, guess what? It would be privy from a negotiation standpoint, from a ease of access standpoint, to not sign with Zuffa. If I want to be insured, if I still want to get my get back for the PED situation and show the world I'm better than Devin Haney once and for all and end this rivalry once and for all, it's going to have to be he goes and he signs under Top Rank or PBC or Matchroom, whatever the case, anybody under that DAZN banner, rather than signing with Zuffa. If he's got more leverage, better positioning to get all the fights that he would want under anybody else except for under Zuffa, at least to me. Sure. He said he would want to wear his own stuff. He would want to wear his own clothes. In fact, I might be able to find a clip of him talking about all this stuff on social media as I'm discussing it. But I don't think we would see Ryan want to go and outright shift and sign with Zuffa Boxing. More likely, he's willing to make the fights with them. But he most likely won't go over there and outright say, hey, I will be under your banner because he's going to ask for all the same things as Shakur Stevenson and still want to be viewed and propagated as the big time star that he is without missing out on the chances to be able to win belts and get names. Now, under Zuffa, it might be hindered. That he might not be able to keep his belt that he won, and he might not be able to go through and get the names that he wants. So it's a slippery slope. I'll be completely honest. So I'm going to say it's 50-50 right now, but I'm leaning towards he won't. But we'll have to see. The boxing bag gave it away. He's under top rank, but they are with DAZN. Yep, you're right. We could get Ryan versus Shakur. That's the only one I see, or Conor Ben versus Shakur if Conor wins. And that's the thing. Let's park the bus here for a little bit, because this is where the deep end of the discussion lies. And we talked about this somewhat last week, but now that we're at this mode of reality with this fight with Devin Haney and Keyshawn under DAZN and Top Rank just about being a done deal, the pool of players that we can see Shakur fight with under his deal right now, though he has the ability to try to make fights with everybody that he wants to, is incredibly slim, a lot slimmer than he ever expected off the backs of the biggest win of his career. Everything looks like it's pointing towards he will fight El Rayo. That's what it looks like. It seems like the biggest thing he's going to be doing is fighting El Rayo. And after El Rayo, now Conor Ben. And then after that, it could be who knows. But those are the biggest people he can get right now. Guaranteed. Strictly under Zuffa alone, El Rayo, Valenzuela, De Los Santos, and Conor Ben. And if Conor Ben loses his fight with Ryan Garcia, is naturally, as we've seen with boxing, his stock is going to drop. Already because of the PED situation. If it's PEDs versus PEDs, drugs versus drugs like we have with Ryan Garcia and Conor Ben as the storyline, whoever comes out of losing that fight most likely will get clowned by the public. And especially if it's Conor Ben, it's not going to be as easy to recover like it would be if it was Ryan Garcia from a from a viability perspective coming back down to this smaller division. I don't think I'm wrong in that sentiment. And it's due to the fact we're looking at Conor Ben in a whole different perspective as a star name. I'm not comparing him to Rolly Romero, but I am saying that his stardom in some degree is propagated because of the amount of volatility he can bring to the table on a night-to-night basis. We saw this brother, I'm serious, we saw this brother nearly going and fighting Ryan Garcia at the drop of a hat. Some of the biggest things about him, slapping an egg at his face, going through and jumping people. Yes, he has a following over in the UK, without a doubt. And he's one of the bigger names over in the UK because of his family lineage and because of his own career. But also that career is tainted. And if he loses against Ryan Garcia, especially if it's in a dramatic knockout fashion, it would still be a good fight to have. It would lose some of that luster, though, of these big time, oh my gosh type of fight. I'd want to see it, but it wouldn't fit that bill of what we thought Shakur should be in right now on a consistent basis of top tier elite talent. Where everybody's gunning for the throne and he's racking up the belts left, right, and center. It ain't the best position where we thought he would be at after his win against Tio. And it has me asking us questions that I didn't want to ask. But did he make the wrong decision? Did he? I'm serious. Did he? Because it's not just about you having the opportunity to fight Devin Haney. It's everybody that you would want to fight in the future for however long you would want to make this fight go down. Or for however long you would want to you were staying under Zuffa, you would need to go through all the rigmarole of fighting through the red tape of business as well as the red tape of the physical aspect of boxing. Ryan Garcia was willing to cross the aisle, get his team together, and work to make a deal with Conor Benn. Absolutely. Are other fighters, managers, and promoters, not the boxers, but the people behind the boxers, are they willing to go through and do that same thing with you? When nobody wants to work with Zuffa, publicly stating they don't like Dana White, they don't like how Zuffa operates, they don't care about the Zuffa belt, and they don't care about what Zuffa's trying to do. As well as Dana bad-mouthing every single promoter that is in this company, or rather in this industry, at the major level of boxing, which he needs to work with to get these fights going with. Because I guarantee you, everybody's team is not the same, it's not in the same position to be as lenient to work with somebody talking against him like we saw with Ryan Garcia and his crew. I guarantee you, there's some bad blood, not due to Shakur, but due to Dana White, that has left scorched earth behind him. That for anybody that comes in, it affects their ability to go and be able to get what they want while under Zuffa, because they're still feeling the ripple effects. Even more importantly, they are bearing the sins of the promoter through no fault of their own, strictly by being with them. You're guilty by association. You're blacklisted because he's blacklisted. You're blackballed because he went and tried to and did disrespect me and what I do and tried to make it seem like he can bully his way into the sport. It don't work like that. No matter who he signs, pay him the bag, give him the money, get paid, fighter, get paid, get your stuff, and be set for life. And go and get easy fights, because I guarantee you, we're not going to give you anybody to go and make stuff happen. It's not the fighters that's are the problem. It's the business that's the issue. That's what I'm afraid of when it comes to Shakur. Let me see. I hope Hitchens looks impressive this weekend, because I think that's a good opponent for Shakur. Oh, I'm sorry. I completely forgot. Yeah, you're right. Hitchens. I completely forgot Richardson Hitchens as a viable name. That should tell you how bad this is, the type of stock of competition that we're seeing Shakur have. Be clear, Hitchens is a good fighter. Hitchens is a champion. Hitchens has my respect. As a star, Hitchens is not that. Would you want to, he would be for a good fight, but I promise you the majority of, if we're going to go by the wider boxing analysis of what people who pay money want to see, they would not want to be interested as much in a fight between Hitchens and Shakur, strictly because of the stylistic matchup. And because everybody concretely sees, yeah, Shakur Stevenson would mop the floor with Richard Hitchens, at least to me. And Hitchens is a good fighter. It would be a great win. But in terms of ability, it's night and day. And if that's the other name, then that's El Rayo, Richardson Hitchens, Conor Benn, and potentially, I can't even say, I'd say De Los Santos just because of the history. And that's the only other big name recognizable that's in this division around Shakur that people would be like, oh, I remember that. I may want to go and see it. That's 4 compared to what was 8 or 9 before, if he had just gone to the other way. I'm just very scared he might have made the wrong decision. Listen, Nigel Benn is said to be juiced when he faced the G-Man. Well, if that's the case, like I said, I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm more than happy to look it up. If that's the case, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. Allegedly. Again, allegedly. Because I have no evidence of that right now. But if that is the case, like father, like son, allegedly. Biggest thing is now, I fear that we're not going to get that Devin Haney match that we would want to have between Shakur and Devin Haney. Longer than we anticipated. Truly, I do. it might not be. This could be a Terrence Crawford Errol Spence situation. We've talked about this before, but on a different scale, because Shakur got a bag, Devin Haney got a bag, and both of them are still the best fits in terms of volatile, not in-ring stylistic matchups, but in terms of, the fans are clamoring to see it. It's got momentum, and it's going to keep having momentum. But question is, but are they going to, even if it gets to a crescendo, where let's say if both fights are 3-fight deals, it could be the 4th fight after Shakur's contract is up. That's when, okay, now we can go through and now we can fight. Not only is it big enough, but also I'm out of the iron claw of Zuffa. And be clear, he can want to leave Zuffa if he sees that the best matchups he can get is Conor Benn or Richardson Hitchens. If he beats both of them, then what? This is the other issue. If he beats both of them, then what? I believe he's talked about wanting to fight Gary Antoine Russell. I'm not sure if he's on the Zuffa banner or not. I cannot remember. But going after these other championships and going after these other names, even at 140, that are not on your side, has me asking some questions. Everybody may want to sign with Zuffa, sure, maybe in the future. I don't know. I just know right now it's very sparse, very far and few between. And I guarantee you we're going to see other promoters start to try to hoard the fighters that they have, in light of them getting, like I said, a big-time star in Shakur. After he beats the biggest people out there, what's left for him to do? If this is a multi-year deal, and over those multi-years, they don't get somebody else to want to sign with them, then what happens? I mean, the only other situation I can see that we get a fight between Zuffa and somebody else with Shakur would be Shakur and Ryan Garcia, in a similar situation that we saw with Ryan Garcia and Conor Benn. Garcia isn't with Zuffa. Garcia signed with maybe a Top Rank or somebody else, but his team is willing to go and make negotiations, giving olive branch because they just want the fights. And then they go through and they make that fight happen, and then he has to fight at 147 for Ryan Garcia's belt. That's what would have that. I could see that happening, and that would be a big time deal. Be clear, Ryan Garcia versus Shakur at 147, happening in a similar way that we saw with Conor Benn and Ryan Garcia, is a big deal, without question, without a doubt. It's a huge deal, massive deal. But at the same breath, with it being a huge deal, with it being a huge situation, we're also understanding fully that we're dealing with, that's an outlier of a willing participant in this war of brands. He might be the only one. And we could see, just like with Terrence Crawford, hey, Dana White, you couldn't give me nothing. I'm gone. I'm out. I'm done with this. I'm out of here. I'm not dealing with this because you couldn't deliver on what you said you could deliver. Why should I stay around for you? Because the fights are there. The landscape for Shakur's career has never been more wide open. That's why I'm upset that we signed with Zuffa, because he did it at the precipice of the very pinnacle of success I wanted him to have in his career. He signed with Zuffa directly in light of the biggest platform he's ever had, with every fight that we've all asked for right at his disposal. No matter what or who he wanted. With the almost perfect storm of everybody under one brand, we were right there. That's the thing. But right now, the only other prospect that can happen when all those Gary Russell, Dalton Smith, and everything else was going down as a potential fight, including Devin Haney, it was going to be. Or it's now only Ryan Garcia as the other biggest name that we can get as a potential more recently than ever. But everything else might be a conundrum. It could. It really could. Let me see. You're not going to believe me. The card I'm most excited for is this weekend Zuffa. Wow. Really? 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 Now hold on. Hold on. We don't judge. Like I said, we don't judge. We don't judge. Let's look at the card itself to see what exactly is going down. Because here's the thing. Be clear. When I talk about Zuffa as a promotion, because right now that's what it is. It's not a league, it's a promotion. I am not saying they cannot put on good fights. I am saying for the caliber of talent that they have versus the caliber of talent that now is there, the threshold for elite versus good is a lot wider because the pool of talent is not nearly as robust. And all the competitive fights that for about 3 years we've been trying to set up to make happen watching this sport are all over there. Zuffa can put on good cards, but they can't make the cards that the fans want to happen. They can't make what matters to the boxing populace as a whole. That's where the biggest issue comes into play. But let me look at what their next card is, so I can be sure exactly how good or bad it is. Okay, so it's Jalil. Okay, yes, that's one. Jalil Hatchett, Edgar Berlanga, and Hitchens all fighting against each other. And if you're excited for that, be excited. Absolutely. There's storylines going into this. Richard the Hitchens still trying to keep his brand going and making a big splash at his new division of welterweight after dropping the belt. We want to see what he can look like at 147. Hey, crazy enough, that's where Devin Haney is, and that's where Shakur would have potentially fought him at. Again, a big fight could be there, and that's something that if he looks good there, the fight with Shakur builds up in momentum, and the biggest payday of his life comes to a legitimate possibility. Hatchet has been talked about a lot by a bunch of other people going against Sergey Darvinchenko. And so that should be a good fight at middleweight that happens. And then Berlanga, who has lost his luster because of the knockouts that he had against Hamzat Shiraz, off the back of what was supposed to be a learning experience and a better than expected performance against Canelo Alvarez, which it was, and now he's trying to work his way back up in super middleweight to get back in contention for the championships at 168. To potentially get back against Shiraz and take over the super middleweight division as an elite dark horse. There's stories there. There's some excitement there. There is some intrigue. I understand. For some people, absolutely. And so if you want to see it, trust me, I believe you. If you're excited for this, I'm just not. I'm just not nearly as pressed for this. For this, one, because again, Hitchens, I'm not a big fan of watching, but I understand he is an elite or a good. Just about an elite fighter. I can call him elite, just on the lower spectrum of elite for me, but he's elite nonetheless. Berlanga, knockout artist, incredibly fun, but every time I think he's going to progress, he just hasn't. But be excited for the card, without a doubt. Don't feel bad. Go watch it. Go watch it and see what the product is like. Test it for yourself. Because Berlanga versus Butler is at least a 50-50 fight. The rest are tune-ups. That's true. That is true. But I think in light of everybody being with the zone, I think everybody's enamored with the possibility of what can happen now. While Zuffa, they may have the mentality to do it like the UFC in terms of matchmaking. but they don't have the roster to be able to make that worthwhile, to build that up to where, okay, everybody, you're going to get a good fight and it's going to be something that you care about. Right now with Zuffa, the fights have not been bad. I'm not saying every card's been blowing people away. The fights haven't been bad on Zuffa. They haven't been terrible. There have been some pretty decent matchups from a standpoint of talent for talent. You're matched up with where you're supposed to be. That's fine. It's just the level that that talent is at just is not at the high threshold that we want with all the other names that we have been enamored with. Not just the elite of the elite, but even the people that are just below that. We've been wanting to see them against each other for the longest time. If they had that type of roster and then were matchmaking like they're doing, okay, we got a different conversation. All of a sudden, people may get some real investment. Oh, this is looking pretty good. It's just not the case right now. Let me see. Even Arrow return feels too little too late. I feel that is one-sided, and Joshua and Fury are tuned up. So here's the thing. This is actually a great segue into it. We're going to get back into the whole Shakur Stevenson, is he alone? And he is alone, and it's going to hurt him. And we're going to get into more as to why it's going to hurt him potentially down the line, even with this deal that's got him paid. It could, in the long run, not get him where he wants to be. But regardless of which, Errol Spence, it's not rushed. It's not too little too late. Because in Errol Spence's mind, this is what he wanted to do. He wanted to be in a position to where he was indeed comfortable with getting back in the ring. He was indeed comfortable with going and getting back into boxing. He was not going to come back up until he felt like he's mentally and physically ready. Now, if we look at somebody else who came back, like with Keith Thurman, when he first came back, he was great. Or way better than we all expected. That could be the same thing. It might just be this long layoff helped him. Manny Pacquiao, it helped him when he went and fought against Barrios. Because the last time we saw him fight in competitive nature, he was against Ugas and his legs gave way. 7 years out the ring, he comes back. All of a sudden, he's getting a draw with Mario Barrios in a fight that should have been drastically in his disfavor. And not even close. There are some people that recuperation, it may take time. But if you give it that time, I'll be just fine. That could be Errol Spence. Without question. That could be Errol Spence. But if it's not, guess what? We're going to have to say, well, hey, wrap it up. It's time to go. It's time to get in. It's time to retire. You have given everything to the sport. And now it's time for you to go walk into the sunset. Let yourself be able to enjoy your life as you want it. Let yourself be able to go through and have your fun and be at peace with what you've done. Because right now, you don't need to come back ever again. We want it to happen. We hope it happens. We hope that we see the likes of Tim Tszyu and Spence turn into not just a great potential war, but a fight. Also, I don't know why my thing is not centered, but I feel like I spelled this wrong. I feel like I spelled Tszyu wrong. I'm gonna go and check it as I'm talking. But Errol Spence is a boxer who, if he is even 70% of what he was, he's got a chance to beat Tim Tszyu. He really does. He really does. I said it yesterday. He does. Without question, he does. And I want him to. Because okay, hold on. TSZ. Okay, TSZYU. See, every time I type his name, I always get it wrong somehow. TSZYU. TS. There we go. Okay, there we go. Now we got it. But let me keep on reading your thoughts and opinions on the show. What's your prediction on Joshua undercard? Shiraz versus Zach Kerber and Josh Kelly versus Cohen. So, and this was in part what I was discussing, and we can actually transition. Well, I'm going to use other topics just so we can, me trying to type up everything that's coming up. It's taking a little bit quicker. Taking a little longer than I expected. But Joshua, or the undercard, Shiraz, Zach Herbert, I believe I'm saying it right. Yes, Zach Herbert, Shiraz is gonna knock him out. He's gonna knock him out. It's gonna be a pretty dominant showcase, most likely for Hamzat Shiraz. Knock him out. And then Josh Kelly against I think it's Kailman. Kelly needs to win. Not just has to, or not just wants to win. He needs to win. Because it looks like Kelly is going to be the next person up for the likes of Jerron Boots Ennis to fight if he does get this win over Coleman. Again, excuse me if I'm butchering the name, but I will let Eddie Hearn tell you the plan of what looks to be the next steps for Josh Kelly in his career. Let me read this chat real quick and I'm going to play that clip. Let me see. Moonman, how you doing? Good to see you. We appreciate you on the show. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being on our live today. Again, we want to make sure that the audio is still working good. So if the audio is still messing up, please let me know. If not, great. We can keep this show rocking. But let me read your chats, and then we're going to play that clip of Eddie Hearn talking about Josh Kelly versus Boots. I feel like that fight between Spence and Tim is going to be a bloody war. They both are going to get hit. We're going to see whose resilience is better. Mark my words. We will. Hold this thought. Please, give me 5 minutes. Hold this thought. We're going to come back to this because somebody on another show said something very interesting that I want to potentially piggyback on and not take their shine. We won't give credit where credit is due, but elaborate on the reasoning for their expectation for this fight with Spence and Tim Tszyu. But let me play this clip with Eddie Hearn first, and then we're going to go and delve into Spence and Tszyu, as well as other stuff in the boxing world. But here you go, Eddie Hearn talking about Kelly and his next fight, and then his fight versus Boots Ennis. What potentially is next on the table?
Big fight for both. I mean,
also let me. I gotta. Oh wait, hold on. I gotta be careful because I know that the audio's been messing up, and so I don't want to blow your eardrums out. I'm going to do this incredibly slow. I'm going to do this incredibly slow to make sure I'm not hurting anybody because Lord knows it can get bad. Hold on a minute. Let me make sure this is right because Lord, this can get bad.
I mean, Josh wins, boom, go out, Boots, Fandora, Ortiz. I mean, he's in the mix for all the mega fights. Kevin wins, you know, he's got the shot at Boots for fortune. So everything on the line.
If you were to give your honest opinion, what do you think will be Jerron Boots Ennis' next fight?
Yeah, hold on, wait a minute. Okay, hold on. Okay, I got the audio right. My apologies. Let me play the clip again so we can hear it clearly now. And I apologize. Like I said, we have some audio issues, so I gotta kind of finagle with stuff on the fly. I ain't got a team with me. It's just all me. But now we're gonna play it in full. This time with the proper audio levels. It should be. And I'm gonna let y'all hear what he has to say.
I mean, Josh wins, boom, go out, Boots, Fandora, Ortiz. I mean, he's in the mix for all the mega fights. Kevin wins, you know, he's got the shot at Boots for fortune. So everything on the line.
If you were to give your honest opinion, what do you think will be Jerron Boots Ennis' next fight?
Josh Kelly, I think. Big fight for both. I mean,
so as you can see, the next fight for him looks to be Josh Kelly. Looks like it's going to be Kelly's about to get the biggest opportunity of his career. And I think even Kelly, when he was talking about the fight with Boots Ennis, he even alluded to, don't talk about him up until after my fight. And then we can have some discussion over what's my next move. Everything looks like it's pointing to Boots getting in the ring with Kelly and going after multiple championships, which is something we have been begging him to consistently do over the course of his entire career. And Lord knows if we do get that, it will lead into the big kahuna of a unified champion versus the most destructive force right now, one of the most destructive forces right now in boxing, in Sebastian Fundora or Virgil Ortiz. Either way, undisputed looks to be incredibly close. So that's what looks to be the case when it comes to Boots and his next movements. And that's why this fight with Kelly is so much very important. But let me keep on reading your chats and responses. Which cards will you be doing a watch along for? I need to make sure I got my schedule for the weekend correct. I may be able to do the fights this weekend, but I also may not be. I'll keep you updated on that by the time we get to Friday and subsequently in the weekend. And so I can keep you updated. If we can't see it, great. We're gonna be watching most likely Spence versus Sue, which I believe is Saturday at 9 o'clock Eastern. But if I can't, I will tell you all, and we'll just react to everything and talk about the show over on Tuesday, that next week. But we'll keep you updated on all that stuff. But going back to Moon Man's comment, because I do want to make sure that I cover him to see what to piggyback on this. When it comes to Spence and Tim Tszyu, as again we're switching gears now. Excuse me. As again we're switching gears now, going into the world of do or die situations. Errol Spence versus Tim Tszyu is a fight that might just be a war, like we see Moon Man saying. Yeah. Oh, it can be. Oh, it's true. It can absolutely be that case. We could most definitely see Tim Tszyu and Errol Spence turn into a bloody affair where it is somebody is being changed forever. And whatever they have left in their careers may just be beat out of each other by the time this fight is over. It can get that bad. It can get that much of a deranged type of fight because they're both built to be that type of stylistic matchup. And I gave my breakdown of what that fight is going to be like last week. I think it was last week. Oh no, Tuesday. I gave a breakdown on that fight Tuesday, and I posted the whole clip on social media on YouTube. So you can see the whole segment, the whole breakdown, and the future for Spence if he does win. It's a great video. I think you should watch it. Hey, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Just so you know, hey, helps the channel out immensely. If you want to go check out that breakdown on the channel, then you can watch as a standalone video on YouTube right now. Hey, did a good job cutting that if I do say so myself. But I digress. I digress. When we're watching this fight, though, we need to understand who has the better durability. Who's got the better durability? Since it's going to be a fight about attrition more than anything else. Because let's be completely honest. This is not going to be... Spence is a great, brawling, technical fighter. Tszyu is a fast-handed power puncher. But both of them operate where they need to be, directly in the pocket, face-to-face, head-to-head against each other. That's what they want. They don't want to chase you down, even though they both can. Although Spence is way better at cornering and cutting off opponents and doing all that stuff than Tim Tszyu with what we've seen in his prime. But this is going to be a fight. This is going to be a war of attrition. And who's the more damaged fighter? And we were and watching other podcasts like Showbiz and others, specifically Showbiz the Adult, made one good point. Again, it's his point. I'm just piggybacking on it. He said, there is a world where Errol Spence might not be as damaged as Tim Tszyu. There's an opportunity that we could see Errol Spence be the potential fresher fighter from the standpoint of his chin and his ability to take a punch than Tim Tszyu with his ability to, he's been able to be in wars, but we've seen him cracked multiple times. And again, getting to a point where normally the warrior that wills it out quit on his stool. Is that a real thing to have as a sentiment about this fight, that Tim Tszyu may be the fighter that is more in danger of getting caught, hurt, and knocked out in this fight with Errol Spence? Or is that just hearsay and blowing smoke. Again, Showbiz the Adult made the point. And it's a very interesting point because it brings me into question. Have we seen Errol Spence really be hurt except for the Terrence Crawford fight? And if the answer is no, we have to ask, are we putting too much into that Terrence Crawford fight as the current condition of Terrence Crawford going into his return in boxing? And that Terrence Crawford beating Errol Spence, yeah, it was a dominant victory, but that should not be the going identity that we see for Errol Spence going forward, that we expect, oh no, every time he gets punched at, we should be scared. And should we have a little more trust in Errol Spence? And I would say yeah. I would say yeah. I would think that we need to be a little bit more confident in the idea that Errol Spence may not be as bad off as we may have been thinking. I'm still concerned. Trust me, my sentiment about what I've said about Errol Spence coming back has not changed, but I'm still scared to death. I'm still petrified because I understand, but you're still 1 foot in, 1 foot out. But if you are in, and like we saw with the stare down, if you're locked in fully like you say, the one thing about Errol Spence that he said about himself, he needed to move up to be better. The one thing that Floyd Mayweather said about Errol Spence was that he should be fighting at 160 when he was all the way down at 147 early in his career. People have been saying the bigger this brother can get, the more physically dominant he can be. And if that bodes true this fight, we could all be in for a rude awakening, I'm telling you. I promise you. Let me see. Joshua Wagner. Joshua, how you doing? Good to see you. We appreciate you on the show with us today. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for coming through on our live stream today. And we appreciate you joining in on our show. Becoming undisputed in this 154 class, as it stands today, is important and can't be understated. It holds merit. Oh, without question. Without question. Again, if you're talking about Boots Ennis versus the division of 154, or if you're talking about Errol Spence, anybody right now at 154, if we're talking about them, yeah, it is a huge deal. It's a huge sentiment. It's a huge situation. Because we said it before, this is arguably the deepest division in boxing, with the most talent top to bottom that can beat anybody on any given day. Undisputed, no matter what the public may say, even no matter what other boxers may feel, in the grand scheme of the sport, Undisputed does hold merit. Undisputed is the very thing that got Terrence Crawford into one of the top 10 best fighters, in my opinion, in boxing history. For Boots, Undisputed would be a huge sentiment for him to go, especially at this point in time. We've said he should have already pursued this endeavor of going after Undisputed. This will be massive, major, mega for his willingness and his ability to go and elevate his plateau of caliber and legacy. He's got that in him. More importantly, if he beats everybody up here, it's for most people, he's going to be a foregone conclusion. He's wiping out 160, and he's most likely going to be running through 168. If he does this down here, 175 might be the challenge that people are saying, let's see him push the envelope. Let's see what he can really do. If he's really like Roy, let's see him go through and be able to dominate. Let's see him live up to the expectations that his own protege, his own role model in Roy said he sees in him. I see myself in you. Let's see if you can live up to that model of being, like we've said before, the face of the sport. The Lord knows. That's still a hot button discussion. That is still a hot topic of conversation. That is still a huge thing. That if you can go and mop the floor with everybody here, you mop the floor with everybody most likely above wherever you're at. Without question. Without a doubt. And it sets you up for the leading man in this sport, not just the leading man in your division. So I want to see him do it. And anybody who says that Undisputed doesn't hold weight is looking at this the wrong way. Undisputed, we may not like the belts, be clear. We don't like the belts. We don't like all the sanctioning bodies. If we could get a world where there was just one belt holding the division, that'd be well and good. If that was our reality, what we could live in, I would love it. It's not though. What is our reality? Undisputed is the most definable way to say I ran through everybody in this division. There is not one man down here that is better than me, without question. That is the best way to separate yourself from not just your division, but other divisions above and below you. We need that benchmark. The belt still holds the belt still holds weight. The legacy still means something. Even if the commissions are hurting that legacy, because they are. The sanctioning bodies, the belts and all that stuff, maybe are hurting the legacy without her handling it. But the legacy is still there and it cannot be ripped away. So we need that. So Undisputed, you doggone right, it holds a whole lot of weight, regardless of what anybody may say. Because there's no other clear defining factor to tell you who stands above the crowd outright. Or rather than beating, one of the 10 best people in the world, that's the biggest defining factor. Everybody needs it. Everybody needs it. So I love it. And you sure ain't, and that's why it always means something. But let me keep on reading your chats. I was thinking more for Boots. Yeah, for Boots, yeah, we're on the same wavelength. It would be great for Boots' path. He needs to establish his own individual legacy. And only he can do that. He's on the same trajectory as Benavidez. He's on the same trajectory as Benavidez. Let's be honest. Let's call a spade a spade. Come on. Let's call a spade a spade. We are looking at Boots Ennis. We're looking at Boots. And we're saying that Boots Ennis is on the same trajectory as Benavidez. In the perspective of they both were trying to carve their own legacy out of the ether because they were in the shadow of somebody else. Benavidez was in the shadow of Canelo. Boots was in the shadow of Terrence Crawford. Also Errol Spence, but more importantly, Terrence Crawford. They're still comparing him to Terrence. He's not in the shadow of Roy Jones Jr. He is being looked at as you can be like him. That is used as an elevating factor, not a holding you down factor at this point in time. Because nobody's saying he'll never be great as Roy. They're only saying I see some Roy in him. For now, that comparison's a positive. But for Crawford, it's always a negative or a detraction. It's always, you didn't fight him. You want to fight him. He's reverting back to, that fight never happened. I wish he had seen me. I would have beat him. This, that, and the third. There's still a shadow that Crawford's name cast over the current position of Boots, even though he's retired and out of here. Every conversation gets brought up with. Every single accomplishment, even this one with Zayas, it's still talked about. Could you get that fight with Terrence Crawford? Could you bring him out of retirement? Is there something you can do to shake him up in his shoes and make him want to come back and fight you? It's always that same thing. Sneak dissing at each other. Try to defend yourself on the standpoint of legacy that you've garnered versus his that he's already established. There's been a consistent there's been a consistent tug of war between Boots and the fan base. This is supposed to be my era to take now. It is. Now, in all honesty, from a legacy perspective, it's either Usyk's or Inoue's era right now with who's leading the accomplishment threshold. That I understand. But in terms of the future going forward, who takes the crown, it's supposed to be Boots leads that charge. And he wants to lead that charge. But he's still fighting Crawford without ever stepping in the ring with him. He needed to be unified against Zayas to start to get out of that shadow. He did. This is why I was saying he needed to do this earlier. Go after unified earlier. Push the envelope instead of having 30 fights where you're just now getting a belt, winning it inside the ring. You are actively cleaning out welterweight. Earlier on, getting 3 belts instead of 2. Facing off against the best names out there instead of going up against tough opponents, yes, but not the caliber of talent that we wanted to see at that division when it was still had some people there. Even with Terrence Crawford and Spence leaving. You not doing that helped to propagate. There's no legacy of your own yet to be had. So, you're a wannabe Terrence Crawford. You want to be where he's at, but you're not, because you're not doing anything like him. And you're wasting time moving through your career. And it's now gotten to a point where he's fighting out of it, but that stigma's been there for so long, that shadow of Terrence Crawford, especially after beating Canelo, just got bigger, just got broader, just got darker, and just got even tougher to get out of. That's what Errol Spence is dealing with. His legacy, just like with Benavidez, it needs to be carved out now. And the work has to start. Benavidez started his work a whole lot earlier and more quickly than even I expected. We saw him being said, oh, he's better than Canelo now. Oh, he's not in the shadow of Canelo. It was quick because he moved quick without the other man dictating what his legacy was going to be. Boots is in that threshold now where he started that move. And now it's time to keep it up. It's time to turn it up. It's time to rev that engine. It's time to switch on the ignition. More so, it's time to keep the engine going. Zayas is the launching pad, but the rest of your career now is the drive. And you cannot falter or else it's going to be bad. And you're going to fall back into that shadow that you're just now starting to climb out of. It's good. It can happen in a heartbeat. It can happen in a heartbeat. Knowing this sport. That's what we're dealing with Boots. Do what Benavidez did. And do it quick. Don't waste time. Kelly, Ortiz, Fundora. After that, Laura. Go get him. Janibek, whenever he comes back. Go get him. Beat everybody that you can. Call out Devin Haney. Bring him up to 154 if you really want to. Which I think you'll beat him. And by that point, you would have been a big enough name. Okay, it's worth my time. Do it all. Because you still got to outrun Crawford's shadow. You started late, but you're doing good. Now you got to keep it going. That's the thing. If he does that, we will stop putting Boots in the same moniker as Terrence Crawford. And we'll start putting Boots in his own category of legacy, which is what we wanted to do all this time. And that's what I'm looking forward to. That's what I'm looking forward to. Let me see. This is Boots' moment to seize. Yes, it is. That Virgil fight is the one that Boots should do before or after Undisputed. That is his peer that can detach from him, or that after can detach him from Bud Sip. Okay, so you're saying that Virgil fight is the fight that will sever that connection between Boots and Crawford. Huh? Yeah. Yeah, well, it will be the biggest ribbon to cut. Like I said, If he had done that when he was first saying he wanted to become the 3 division champion, all that stuff, if he had fought Virgil Ortiz immediately going up to 154, yeah, I would have agreed. I think now he needs both Ortiz and Fundora to completely sever that tie in the minds of people. Like I said, I view him as he's his own man. I view him as, hey, this is Boots in his legacy era and time to shine. Perfectly fine. The public is what I'm saying. Still puts Boots in the same shadow of Terrence Crawford, rather under the shadow. Ortiz at one point in time would have been enough. I don't think Ortiz would be enough to get out of that shadow of Terrence Crawford. I don't. And it's not because Ortiz and Boots ain't great. It's because now the public sees Fundora and Ortiz as a similar threshold that to get out of what we were saying with Terrence Crawford's ability and the comparisons, you need both. When before you only needed one. But because you waited around, Fundora got better. Fundora fights bigger. Fundora has turned into a real threat. It's not just because of the Keith Thurman fight. Over the course of the last 3 fights, people have been seeing, but this man is not just exciting. How do you beat somebody with 83 inches of reach? Built as tall and long as Anthony Joshua. And now he's learning and is able to be not just a long fighter, but still destructive. Brother, you got to face him and Ortiz to be the definitive guy. Because that's what Crawford would have done. Because Crawford beat Kell Brook, Sean Porter, and Errol Spence back to back to back. If we want to be like Crawford, that's what it's going to take. And I'm telling you, if he had fought Boots, if he had fought Ortiz earlier, pushed the envelope at 154 earlier, like he said, this would not be a conversation that he needs both to get out of that shadow. But now that he wasted time, you let somebody grow. Just like I talk about with Canelo. Canelo should have fought Benavidez earlier when he was at 168. Because he chose to wait, and because he chose to waste time, he put himself in the situation that now, if you want to elevate in your own career as one of the greatest Mexican boxers of all time, which you indeed are, you got to go through Benavidez. It's not a debate. You cannot reach any higher unless you go and beat him. Or unless you go and beat Bivol, which you ain't beating Bivol. Or Beterbiev. You're getting knocked out against Beterbiev. And you ain't never touching one. Well, you definitely going to cruiserweight. So you better make your move and fight him. Because that's what that was a non-negotiable. Boots now has 2 non-negotiables to fully sever that tie with Terrence Crawford. It's Ortiz and Fundora. If he beats both of them, there won't be any detractions. Just beating one will still leave room to talk. Just beating one. What do you think is fair or unfair? I'm simply giving you the perspective of the public eye. What we've seen before with boxing and fans as a whole. Just beating one is not enough to get the public to stop the noise going against you. Just beating one is not enough to completely stop the noise of going against you and having a fight that shuts everybody up. It's not enough. Because there's always a quote-unquote bigger fish that you need to fry to answer questions. And you're not going to please everybody. You're not. But there's a big enough sentiment with those two, Ortiz and Fundora, that yes, one will not be enough just to go and get all, or at least the majority of that noise quieted. You got to have both. And if you get both, now, okay, You already had your own legacy, and now you're your own man. You talk the talk, you walk the walk, and you gave us nothing else to debate about. All right. Even the biggest of haters have to go and back off. That's why I'm saying it's significant about Boots needing both fighters. He's got to fight them both, Ortiz and Fundora. Got to fight them both. Let me see. I agree Fundora stepped into that. He did. There was a time when Fundora was seen, especially at the Brian Mendoza, as work that, even though he's a good fighter, most people can take. After the first fight with Tim Tszyu, people were saying that he lost that fight. In terms of Tim Tszyu, only lost that fight because he couldn't see with blood in his eye. Because he was still landing with the straight left, or excuse me, the straight right, knocking Fundora's head back, having early success, and it looked like early on he was going to get his way into a dominant victory with how he was consistently scoring through the guard and on that tall chin of Fundora with those straight right hands. After the cut, the whole fight shifted and changed. But before that, I remember because I was watching it with some people. And it was like, oh, okay, yeah, Tim Tszyu going, he gonna get him out of there. Even after that fight, he was still seen, okay, he's manageable. Now, that conversation's gone. It's gone. Because he's a different animal. He's a different animal now. Let me see. Bud has set an incredibly high standard. Yes. Without a doubt. And the thing with Bud, and again, we're still talking about the landscape of the boxing world. Again, we still can't talk about Shakur and his fight going in with honestly, we don't know who. But whoever he chooses to fight with, we can still talk about that and have that whole discussion. We're not trying to get away from that conversation. But this is important because this still lands in the greater threshold of the boxing world. Terrence Crawford set an insane high standard. Terrence Crawford shut everybody up because people said that his standard wasn't high enough. Remember, he was seen as not the best dude at welterweight, even though he was always winning. It was held against him, what he was doing at welterweight in some respects, because one, he wasn't Errol Spence, and two, it was seen as Errol Spence was facing all the bigger people, and he was getting Errol Spence's scraps. He beat Sean Porter after Sean Porter got beat by Spence. He knocked out Kell Brook after Kell Brook got his eye broken and got knocked out by Errol Spence. That was the running narrative. I remember. No matter what he did, it was always, yeah, he's great. He ain't the best in the world, though. He ain't the best welterweight here. He gonna get beat. I remember it all. His greatness did not get established up until he beat Spence. I need you to understand that. I need you to understand how his standard was so high. The amount of time it took him to get the respect that we have for him now was immense. I've reiterated this before, and it still boggles my mind. It took this man not just beating Gamboa at 135 when Gamboa was still hot, but it took him going 16-0 at welterweight with 16 knockouts from 2016 to 2023. Was it 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21? That's almost just about 8 years of straight KOs at the welterweight division. Not one loss, not one win did not come by knockout at welterweight. It took that for him to finally get the respect on a global scale that he deserved. That should tell you how hard it is to get out of the shadow of somebody. That should show you just the lengths that you have to go when there is a stigma placed on you. And for Terrence Crawford, it wasn't even his fault. Errol Spence was in front of him in many people's eyes for many years. And Crawford was just doing work. It's a completely different situation than what we have with Boots Ennis. Boots Ennis has been talked about in a higher regard of potential possibility than I heard with Terrence Crawford when he was coming up in boxing. Yeah, Terrence Crawford, all-time great talent, insane work rate, insane skill and ability, the IQ and all that stuff. All that is absolutely true. I am talking about what the media, what experts, what pundits, and what fans were saying about Terrence Crawford versus what they were saying and propagating about current day Boots Ennis. It's night and day. Crawford made that jump years ago, taking on elite talent way earlier than Boots did. Yet, what do we see? Boots, after the first jump, this brother is the face of the sport. This brother should be the next leading face. This guy, can't nobody beat him. There's no bigger name right now than Boots Ennis. Oh my gosh. Everybody should pay money to see this man. He's got it all. And he's from Philly. After beating, to date, the best fighter he's ever faced off against in his career, who is not even the best fighter in this division right now at 154. This is not disrespect. I'm telling you, the standard was always high. People didn't care up until, to some degree, it was convenient or notable to care. It's not fair, but that's what happened. Boots Ennis, in a way, has done way more than him. Shakur's done way more than him. Devin Haney's done way more than him. Usyk's done way more than him. Many boxers right now have done way more than what we've seen Boots do. But Benavidez has done more than him. But it's not getting anywhere the same level of push and traction. Because now it's cool to talk about Boots. And it could have been cool for all those other people. But for some reason, it just didn't stick. They had the violence. They had the entertainment. They had the personality. They had it all. They could talk that talk. They could get reckless. Terrence Crawford could get reckless on the mic. He's quick-witted with it. That brother can get, like, legit. You get him in a fight scenario, you go at him, but he's quick with it. He can sell a fight. If you get a fighter that pushes him, he can sell a fight. You talk disrespectful, but he got a short fuse. We've seen him shove people on stage. We've seen him talk at the crowd. We've seen sound bites and clips. He did everything that we wanted to see an entertaining fighter do. And then he didn't have no outside issues, no outside problems. The buddy just came in, I'ma fight, I'ma sleep. Then I'ma fight again, sleep. That's it. Literally bred for war. And yet, nothing up until, well, I can, I knew he was this all along. No, you didn't, because you didn't believe in him. It's a shame, but that's what happened. It's cool to support Boots, and it should be cool. At the same breath, Crawford's standard was way higher and didn't get nearly the love. Did not get nearly any of the love that we see Boots get from this point in his career. And he's barely scratched the surface of what we've seen Terrence Crawford do. That's why I say he can be the face of the sport. He's got the right mentality to push this envelope, but he's got a lot better backing. Why? Because it's cool to like Boots. And it wasn't cool, or nearly as cool, to like Terrence Crawford when he was moving through the ranks. That's the difference. Or at least that's part of the difference anyway in this conversation. Let me see. Even after years of stall-outs, but still left a sizable gap as far as legacy, he stepped into a room, won a skeleton in a chair, Hank Armstrong. He could only imagine if things went right. Yeah, I want you to understand right now, Boots is Boots at this point in time has the capacity to reach something that few boxers have today. I say this for real. And let me see. Because But's era overlaps with Boots' era, that at the tail end of the bar. No, you're right. Because Boots' era overlaps with Bud's era at the tail end of his career. The bar Boots has left with him, or rather the bar that Crawford left with him, Boots still has to go and catch up to. Understandable. But understand this clearly involving this whole conversation. He did something right now in terms of Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford did what only Henry Armstrong ever did in his career. Become 3-time undisputed champion. Outright. Henry Armstrong was held it simultaneously at one point, which was ridiculous. Stupid. I don't understand how. But he did it. That's insane. But that was Henry Armstrong. Crawford, with everything that was against him, business-wise, promotion-wise, and as a risk-reward opportunity for any fighter, he still got to that threshold. If we were able to see Bob Arum make these fights when he signed with Top Rank, and more importantly, the risk of Crawford being worth the reward in most people's eyes, it would have led to nearly every big fight we ever asked for. Even closer to their prime, it would have happened. And some more. It could be a situation where his legacy would be even more breathtaking than we see right now. I dare say if it had moved like that, we could have gotten Canelo Alvarez versus Terrence Crawford earlier in his career. When Crawford was close, when Canelo was closer in his prime. If it was moving with the same level of risk-reward balance that made it so that it was easy to make stuff happen in his career. That's what Terrence Crawford had to deal with to go and get to where he's at right now. Boots Ennis, right now, with already being one of the scariest fighters that anybody can fight against. A matchup nightmare for nearly every big-time name in his division and or beyond. That's without question. He still is seen as a fighter that is worth the risk. Zayas was willing to take the risk. It was worth it. The payday, the money, the opportunity, and if I win, oh my gosh, what does that do for me? Everything. It's worth my time. Boots has been worth a lot of people's time, even at 147. It was just Boots Ennis that we've documented did not push that envelope like he was supposed to go and try to get those fights. But now, at the prime age of 30, Fundor's calling him out. Ortiz is calling him out. Josh Kelly's calling him out. Bacron, don't be surprised if he tries to get a fight with him. Devin Haney's been thrown in to the Boots conversation. Ryan Garcia, if he ever goes, Ryan Garcia's talked about Boots. He wants to get into the Boots conversation. I'll knock him out. I'll beat him. We've seen Boots Ennis since reaching this point in time in his career, having his name talked about in 3 separate divisions, 2 or 3 separate divisions. 168 with Canelo and them, 154 right now, and 147. Strictly because they can come up here. Keyshawn Davis can't come up here. Devin Haney can't come up there to 154. Ryan Garcia can come up to 154. Errol Spence can be there at 154 or 160, hypothetically, just as a fight. Boots has the luxury that Crawford never had. I'm worth the loss. That's what Boots has that Crawford, up until he beat Spence, didn't have. Didn't have it. I'm worth the loss. Shakur Stevenson. Even Shakur, crazy enough, got it earlier. He fought Tio. And after that fight with Tio, now he's a big name. I'm worth the loss now. Because you're going to lose against me. But it's worth you trying to make this fight. It's worth it. It's worth the loss. I'm not saying the loss is guaranteed, but it's worth the loss if it happens. That is one of the biggest MOs that dictates what happens, motivating factors that dictates what happens in a boxer's career even before they reach their zenith in their career. How much is it worth getting in the ring with you? And is it worth a loss on my record if I lose to go and fight you? Boots Ennis is already there. It took him a minute because of his movement. But even before his movement, he was already there. Okay, yeah, I'm the biggest butt in this division. Without having a huge name here at 154. Guess what he was able to say? I'm the biggest fish any of y'all can fry. I'm that guy, and I'm the only one that can be up here that can go and get you what you want monetarily. I'm worth the loss, and I don't even have a belt. So come and find out what I can do. Because I'm worth the loss. Crawford, even though he was going to make you lose, he wasn't worth the loss for many people, whether it was managers, promoters, or even fighters themselves. All three of them agreed he's not worth the loss. Canelo was worth the loss. That's why everybody wanted to call him out. Charlo had no shot against Canelo, but he fought him. Why? Because he's worth the loss. Well, if I'm going to lose, if I'm going to lay down and die like a cub, not a lion, in the biggest fight of my life, guess what? I might as well do it to Canelo, who can give me the biggest bag possible. Oh, that's worth the loss. That's worth it. I'll fight Tank. Sure, that's worth the loss. Huh? I'll fight him. That's what we're dealing with Boots Ennis. That's the biggest things that are going for him against Terrence Crawford. He reached his zenith of not just, but he reached a zenith of popularity, and more so risk-reward assessment that made him worth the loss way quicker than Terrence Crawford, even though Terrence Crawford did way more work than Boots ever did in his career. And that very moniker of being worth the loss to people is going to make it so that fights that we want to have happen are more likely to happen quicker than what we had with Boots, with Terrence Crawford in his career. Because quicker than Terrence Crawford had an opportunity to, people are willing to sit down and say, I'll take this chance because this is worth time and money. And a loss here would still be more favorable than not taking this opportunity at all. Rather than I'm going to get beat up, done in, destroyed, and outright dog walked, and now I'm walking out of here, broken ribs, broken bones, unconscious. And if anything, my stock is dropped. Rather than, oh, I lost to Crawford. Wow, in hindsight, I lost to Crawford. But in the immediate, it's not worth the loss to me. Benavidez had that same thing going for him. It wasn't with Canelo. It wasn't worth the loss to him. A lot of people didn't want to fight Benavidez, specifically Canelo. It wasn't worth the loss. And now it is, but he still doesn't want to do it because he's scared. And I say that of my own perception because he could have still fought him. If you're still able to call out Bivol name over and over and over again, you can call out Benavidez's name. Don't play that game with me, because we know that's a fact. Because if Bivol did what he did to you, but he's not too big, the Benavidez should be just fine. If Archie Benavidez is a willing competitor that you'll take on, then Benavidez is just fine. Why? Because both of them were too big for you, and you still want to fight them. I don't want to hear it. That's a whole other conversation, though. Point being, Boots is worth the loss. Boots is worth the risk. And Boots is worth the risk in the middle of his prime. Way earlier than what we saw with Terrence Crawford. When physically he was in his prime, but he was not in the same throes of favorable risk-reward assessment throughout the boxing landscape. Now that he's there in terms of Boots Ennis, and he is in that position, the world is his oyster. And thankfully, it should lead to bigger fights sooner and a legacy that's even quicker to develop into his own Hall of Fame career, which I'm excited for, without a doubt. And I want to see it. I want to see it take place, and I want to see it grow and flourish. And I can't wait as we watch it unfold, without question. Let me see. 135, 147, 160. It's really 12 pounds to go back and forth from. Hank only had to weigh in over 147. Still super incredible as far as simultaneously holding all three. It is. Like I said, we have always held landmarks like what we see with Henry Armstrong and others in high regards, strictly because even today we can say it's only it's only a small amount of weight difference or so and so, which is fair to say. We also understand the effects that those same pounds have had on the bodies of countless other fighters before. Stephen Fulton, it was only a 4-pound difference from 126 to 130, and look at what happened to him. That's the thing. We've seen fighters go from 115 to 118, and all of a sudden they're getting knocked out the kingdom come. What the world? How in the world can this be? The fact that Manny Pacquiao went from 108 to 115 even was ridiculous. Even though it was only, it was 108, 9, 10, 11, 12, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Only like a 6-pound difference. But still, from 108 to 112, that's preposterous. Or, 115. You get what I'm saying. The weight isn't massive, but it is substantially affecting. That's why I hold it in such a high regard. And it is incredible. And plus, I don't care what weight class we've seen. We ain't seen nobody else do that. That's what makes it, ridiculous. I still haven't seen somebody do that. That is insane. That is actively insane. Jenny, just think about it. Let me see. Johnny Blaze, how you doing? Good to see you. We appreciate you on the show. Thank you for tuning in, showing up, and showing out on our stream. Let me see. Still talking about this in the year 2026. Get over and move on. Hey, man, look, we're not dwelling on the undisputed facts. We're just talking about how it's impressive to think about. We are also looking at this is what Boots wants to do. Boots said he wants to go undisputed in 3 separate weight classes. Let's not forget that. Boots Ennis was the one that said 147, 154, 160, 168. I'm going 4-time undisputed in a tweet on social media. These are the receipts that he put out himself, not me. He's the one that said I want to go undisputed at 154 and 168, or in my career at 168, hopefully being undisputed from this point on. He said that, not me. This is why we're saying it would be insane if he got 3-time undisputed and held all 3 divisions at the same time, especially in this era of boxing. But just in general, it would be ridiculous. I would love to see it, but it's going to be incredibly hard. But the whole conversation, again, you coming in later on in the show, we appreciate you being here. We've been talking about Crawford and Boots, specifically the shadow of Crawford that has cast over Boots and how Boots gets out of it. More importantly, Boots is in a better favorable spot than what we saw with Terrence Crawford when he first got here into the limelight of boxing, because he's in this position in his prime with fighters wanting to fight him way more fervently than what we saw with Terrence Crawford. He has the opportunity to get all these fights we've been asking for in the midst of his prime, with the latter half of his career potentially being icing on the cake on what can be an incredible road to success in his continued young, flourishing boxing tenure, which I want to see, and I'm excited for. And if we accomplish it, great, cool. because there's big fights that are there. Like with Devin Haney. They're there. Shoot, I'll be honest. If we want to talk about dream scenarios, Boots Ennis, if he stays at 154 long enough, with Shakur growing, Devin Haney growing, and Ryan Garcia almost assuredly growing into this division, there's a world where if Boots just stays put for maybe 2 years, reigns and rules at this division, and there's enough fights where he can reign and rule and have competition at 154. There's enough. If he did that, there's a world we can get all three of them at 154 together, having an opportunity to fight Boots Ennis for his undisputed titles. There's a world. Devin Haney showing up is big enough. Shakur can definitely get up to that weight. And Ryan Garcia, the bigger he gets, we assume, the more physically dominant he'll be. And so with it, all of this can lead to risk-reward assessment, but that's worth it. That's worth it. We got people saying right now Boots Ennis is a top 10 fighter in the world. Whether you agree or disagree is not the matter at hand. The bigger matter at hand is simply the idea. This position, coupled with his current pedigree of popularity, coupled with his talent, leads people to say it's worth my time to fight. Big stars saying it's worth my time to fight. So, guess what that can equate to? Big time fights with everybody wanting to go and see what he's got to offer, which I'm all for. Absolutely. Let me see. Let me guess, it's going to be a lot of Fundora and Kelly are ducking for not fighting Boots when he wants to. No, we ain't say that. We ain't say that. We haven't even brought it. The only thing that we've said about Josh Kelly is that Eddie Hearn said the next fight for Boots Ennis, if we see Josh Kelly win on the undercard of Paringa, is Kelly versus Boots. That's all we've been saying. That's all we've been saying. We've been saying that's the next logical step. Eddie Hearn even said that. We were saying we wanted to see that. Why? Because if Fundora's got a fight and Ortiz doesn't have a belt, and you want to build that up, and they just now got their stuff together with De La Hoya and Ortiz getting into, okay, we're good with contracts now. After all of that, they are available, but do you want to build that up even more and go after your first sentiments, which was you wanted to go after titles? So, Kelly, most logical option. And it's there for the taking. And most likely from a standpoint, you had terrible negotiation time when it came to you had terrible negotiation times with Ortiz. And now he wants to come back around. Yesterday's price ain't today's price. So now, because of that, you got time. You can operate and go after the belts. And the logical steps would be Josh Kelly first, Fundora second, because he's also been willing to want to make stuff shake, and most likely the negotiations for Fundora and Boots would be a whole lot easier to make happen. And then you end it off with Ortiz and Ortiz and Boots. With Ortiz and Boots facing off against each other for the undisputed title. It makes all the sense in the world. At least to me. Also, give me 1 second. I think my headphones, it feels like my headphones are messing up a little bit. I can't, hold on a minute. Is my cord not tight here? Okay, there we go. I had to make, it seemed like, I think my headphone cord, I was trying to figure out, it sounded like there was something going on. I couldn't figure it out. Dang it. I thought I was going insane. Nah, we good. We fine. But that's what I can see happen. Kelly versus Ortiz first. Or excuse me, Kelly versus Boots first. Boots versus Fundora second. Ortiz, Boots third for the undisputed title. That's what I would see to do. That's what make it, and that would be In my opinion, perfect matchmaking. And to me, let me see. Don Emilio, what's going on? How you doing? Good to see you. We thank you so much for tuning in on the show. Thank you for showing up and showing out on our live stream today. We've had some audio issues, so again, we're trying to make sure we're still sounding great. If we are sounding good, give a thumbs up just to be sure everything's on the up and up. But as a whole, in reference to the landscape of our conversation, we've been talking about everything under the sun. And please, we got 12 people. How many people we got? 16, 12 people in the chat. If you would, leave a like on the stream. One like makes a world of difference. Help us grow as a show and reach the masses all across the globe. Without question, we can't do this without you all. So please keep the conversation going. Keep the conversation rolling. We got so much stuff that we've been covering today. We covered Devin Haney signing with DAZN. We covered Shakur. Is he now alone by himself with Zuffa? We're covering Boots Ennis, Terrence Crawford. We're covering it all right here for you today. And we still got the championship rounds, just so you know. So be sure to stick around for that in the next, 30 minutes or so, roughly 20 minutes or so, where you can answer or ask anything you want to in the world of boxing and beyond. But let's get back to your questions with Don Emilio. We appreciate you on the show, man. Salute to you and welcome back to the stream. Let me see, what's the topic we talking about today? We talk about money. We've been talking about money a lot. In some ways, it's been a kind of a mismatch bag of topics and conversation. The most recent of which was who would be able to move up to 154 to fight Boots Ennis. But on the whole, we've been kind of cycling through, stepping up from 147 to 154, what the landscape of boxing can look like to some degree between Zuffa, Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney, and Boots Ennis going forward. We even had a little bit of honestly, we've been running through, talking about a whole bunch of stuff. So it's like, pick your portion of what you want to discuss without a doubt. But right now, the topic is Boots. We're going to be moving on to other things in a little bit. Let me see. Super facts on this Boots topic today. He's in Sudan, awesome position, and I'm curious to see how it goes. All these fighters really, nothing set in stone with these outcomes. Yeah, in all honesty, we got to paint what we do on this show. We paint a larger picture in the world of boxing and just sports in general. One of those larger pictures is the who can or can't get above the noise, and that's what we're looking at right now. And specifically, that's what I'm scared of with Shakur. Shakur being able to get above the noise because of this deal with Zuffa, with Boots Ennis doing what he's doing. And again, I tried to make it smooth, but we're kind of switching gears a little bit right now in the topic of discussion. But we're going back to where's it? There, Shakur. Right now, Shakur, we said he's alone. And right now, Shakur is still in the fight to get above the noise in boxing. Because we're at a unique situation where we have everybody peaking at the same time in both popularity and skill and notoriety around the globe. Shakur just had his biggest fight of his career going up against Teofimo Lopez, and everybody got to see it. Keyshawn Davis right now is one of the hottest fighters out there. Facing name everywhere, attached to the two most polarizing names right now in boxing, with Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson. Devin Haney made a resurgence. All of a sudden, $150 million deal. One of the highest paid people in boxing outright from a fighter that everybody said was boring. We're looking at all this stuff to see we got everybody reaching the pinnacle of their career, where now not just are they in their prime, but they're getting all the fruits of their labor all at once. Boots right now with this win against Zayas, talked about with Fundora and Ortiz. Benavidez going and beating up against Zora Ramirez. A plethora of conversation and a plethora of intrigue. everybody wants to see him fight now. We got everything we want for everybody moving through and getting the boxing world ready to crown a new king. But everybody's moving up at the exact same time. It's a rare thing. Again, we compared it to, we had the four kings: Duran, Leonard, Hagler, Hearns, even the likes of Wilfred Benitez and others, all within that division. They were all peaking at the same time. And so it's like, oh my gosh. It's such a, it's a unique situation. But it's great nonetheless because everybody's looking at it and saying, yo, we got competition everywhere. But because we have competition everywhere, you got to be on your A game and stand out from the crowd. And you can't miss a step. You can't miss a step. And more importantly, you can't get left behind by your own actions. Not just the losses, but how you move in your career. Look at it this way. Tank right now is still one of the biggest names in the sport. Absolutely. But in the rat race of what people look at him as now, in the landscape of moving and elevating in the world of boxing, he has been left behind by the names just mentioned because of what they've done, how they moved. And even if he's still in that conversation, the staying power of said conversation is only built on the past and not the present when it comes to Tank Davis. And that's not good because everybody else's current pedestal is being elevated because of the future that is in front of them, not what they did in the past. What they did in the past helped to establish what we see them as a talent. But because of that, their future and their commitment to doing things properly in the future, guess what that made people do? Buy into, we believe. And we want to see if our belief is validated. Because you gave us some hope. And my gosh, you're looking good doing it. That is our dilemma. It's a good dilemma to have because we got so many stars all at the same time. But it's a dilemma nonetheless because everybody wants to see what shakes up. That's the thing. And Shakur going to Zuffa may leave himself out of that equation, or rather shrink his impact in said question of who can rise above the noise. Because if he can't get the fights of the caliber of the other people that are all getting big fights at the same time, well, that's going to lead to you people saying, oh no. Doesn't help with the fact that people are still talking about Shakur being a boring fighter, whether that is a reality or not. That is still a sentiment that people hold. And because that's a sentiment that people hold, it's going to be a lot tougher to keep on selling, yo, this bud is one of the biggest faces, and we keep seeing him in fights that people are going to say, oh no, I'm not as interested in seeing. It's not really piquing my, introspection of wanting to dig into my wallet and pay some money out. If it ain't Devin Haney, if it ain't Tank Davis, if it ain't Ryan Garcia, or if it ain't somebody that is an uber exciting fighter or the perfect dance partner, I don't really want to watch Shakur. There's still people that feel like that, even with this level of success. This is not me trying to make Shakur seem bad. I'm not. I'm simply painting a picture. That is with the roster that Zuffa has, he cannot fit that bill to match with the matchmaking that other people in his same division can. And they can keep that high momentum even higher. While Shakur, he's still Shakur. But if I say we watch Devin Haney and Keyshawn Davis, Benavidez versus Jaya Pataya, Ryan Garcia versus Conor Ben, and then Shakur versus Valenzuela, I'm sorry, there's an odd man out that's going to have people questioning, ooh, I can't focus on everybody, and I can't pay everybody. There's something that I don't care about. It would be that instance. And hence would lose some luster in the eyes of fans. I'm simply telling you how the fandoms in boxing have worked over the years when it comes to who they want to care about and who they don't want to care about. This is not an indictment on Shakur the fighter. It's an indictment on the danger of the decision that he made and what it can lead to. Because what everybody else has lined up, and the best fight is right now Valenzuela, it can get sketchy. And if you can't commit to, I sign with Zuffa, I get the big fights that y'all want to see because I'm about the names, and the only other name that we get is Valenzuela and Conor Ben, and we don't get a Devin Haney, we don't get a Ryan Garcia, we don't get a Gary Antoine Russell or any of those other caliber of talents. That's going to leave a bad taste in people's mouths. Because we had high hopes after T.O., and then he just fell out the sky. Oh my gosh. And I'm telling you, it can affect the identity that people associate with Shakur. All because he made the wrong move. Because he is alone. Amongst the big names. He's alone. He is. Let me see. Shakur's only fight at Zuffa is Rayo. Yes. Absolutely. Rayo and or Conor Ben. Specifically, he better hope Conor Ben wins. Because if Conor Ben loses, how are you going to view that fight? Let's ask the public. Hey, come on. Let's ask the public. Let's ask the public. How are you going to view that fight? How would you view that fight when it came to Shakur versus Conor Ben? If we see Conor Ben lose against Ryan Garcia, because that's the likely situation right now. It can be an upset, absolutely, that we see Conor Ben win. But if we see Conor Ben lose to Ryan Garcia and he's still signed with Zuffa, and that's the only other big name that we can see Shakur get under the Zuffa banner without having to go cross promotion, is that going to make you get out of your seat? Or is it going to be, oh, yeah, you know what? I'm not all there wanting to see that take place. I'm asking you all, because again, I can feel how I feel, but the important thing is the fans. And I would assume they would lose a lot of luster. And people would then be complaining, why did he ever sign with them? Especially if Eddie Hearn, De La Hoya, what's his name? Al Heyman, Frank Warren, all say we are just not going to work with them at all and leave them out to dry. It can be a problem. It really can. Let me see. Griff, what's going on? How you doing? We appreciate you on the show. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for showing up, and thank you for showing out on our stream. Please keep on liking the stream. Keep on sharing the show. And hey, if you want to support the channel, shameless plug, Cash App, PayPal, links down below, Super Chat, Super Gift stickers, and the like, all of which you can give and support the channel if you can. It would mean the world to me. Without a doubt, helps us to make the show better, and we can't do this without you all, the viewing and listening public. But if, regardless of whatever else you do, please just like the stream and share the show. But let me keep on reading. These fights aren't pay-per-view worthy. Exactly. It's a pay-per-view level star with free type of fights or cable television level fights. El Rayo is a good fight to have. Rayo Valenzuela is not from a standpoint of, it's intriguing. That's not a negative. It is there. It would not be a terrible fight to watch, but it would not be a fight that would have people saying, oh no, I'm bought in to what you got going on. It would. It would. It just would. But let me keep on reading your chats and responses. We don't know if Shakur has isolated himself. We have been seeing anything, or excuse me, we don't know if Shakur has been isolated himself yet. We haven't seen anything but that DAZN's play is fire. DAZN eliminates streets, so Dev has a lot of plays. We got to see how this plays out for Shakur. Eliminating the street in this way, I don't think it's what you think. This wasn't eliminating the street. This was buying out the block. Perfect example. There's a woman right now that is fighting a data center. Data centers are terrible. Be clear. Despicable. Scum of the earth. I despise them with all my heart and soul and those who make it, because it's nothing but a money grab situation that's going to hurt families, homes, and environments where people live. Disgusting, and corporations don't care. Without question. There is a woman right now that is fighting a one-person battle by not selling her land against a multi-million to billion-dollar company that wants to use her house and her land as a way to finish off the land for their data center so they can do what they want to do. The issue isn't that she's isolated. The issue is the fact that the company bought everybody else out to try to strangle her into submission. That's what DAZN did. They bought everybody. We've seen Fox and others leave boxing because they didn't want to go and be a part of it because they're infighting, get themselves in. A perfect example, the boxing channel, Proper Boxing, I believe is the name, did a great breakdown on the whole beef between Eddie Hearn, Dana White, and in the midst of that breakdown, talked about how we even got to a point where DAZN got all the big players in boxing under their roof. Go watch that video if you can. Great breakdown and a great explanation. But that is what DAZN did to Zuffa. Now, DAZN, more so, we're the only place that can has the funds and wants to promote you. But also, with Zuffa coming in here, is to starve Zuffa out. And any fighter that wants to sign with Zuffa, make it so that there is no option except for you sign with us or you don't get any fights that you want. Because we have everybody that you want. The whole reason why you went over there because you thought you could get the fighters that would make your career and resume even bit greater. And now, come to find out, the only way you can get those fights is to get out of your contract and come to one of us. A monopoly, per se, in the boxing world. Normally, I would say that's bad. Normally, I would say that's terrible. This is one of the few instances where this works out better for the sport because it makes it so that we can have an easier time in getting the fights that we want. Because it used to be when everybody was separate in their own thing, it was incredibly hard to negotiate. But again, that very identity shot all these other promotions in the foot, which is why we are where we are now. But because Zuffa's on the outside of this monopoly, this is a, if you can survive on your own, so be it. But we don't want you here. And we will watch you die and anybody attached to you die from a distance. Because what other resources do you have? Because we bought everything away from you. If you want to fight us, so be it. And you may win some small battles. Can you win the war against us as a big conglomerate? That's what Shakur is fighting against. That's what Jaya Pattaya is fighting against. Jaya Pattaya even just went after an injunction to go against the IBF, who stripped him of his title. Because I believe it was deemed as unfair, all because he signed with Zuffa. But that is what he's having to fight against. And that is a fight that most of the time, not all, but most of the time, you might not be able to win. And more than anything, it could be a situation where if you don't win, like you might be out of luck. You might be out of luck. But let me keep on reading your chat because we still got a whole bunch that we can say. Von Grino, how you doing? Salute to you. Thank you for showing up and showing out on our stream today without question. Let me see what you had to say. Right now, Shakur's been a free agent twice. He could have made any fight he wanted. If you're still a fan of his, you're just an idiot. Well, no, you can still be a fan. And he has been a free agent twice. The first time, like I said, he was a free agent, but he signed with, he made the fight with Tio. So like, I'm not mad at that. The first time was a free agent and he signed, we got to fight with Tio. He did what Jaya Pattaya did and tried to go and just make a better situation for himself. And sadly, it failed. Or rather, it's not looking great. It hasn't failed. It has not failed. But it's not looking great. And I would be remiss if I tried to say, oh, it looks like it'll work out. It might not. And it might be he either tries to get out of his contract if he can't get what he wants, or he just straight up goes and rides it out and then just says, okay, I'm never signing with you again. I'll finish out my deal. I'll go through and fight the people on your roster. We couldn't get DAZN to sign with us for a fight. We couldn't get another Ryan Garcia situation for a cross-promotion event. And we couldn't get anybody to want to come over here and negotiate with us in a fair way because of you and the bridges you burned in Dana White. So I'm done. I'm gone. Goodbye. See you later. And it is what it is. And so we could see that. It could go both ways. Do you think Shakur signing with Zuffa might affect his pound-for-pound rankings in the future? Ooh, that's a good question. Ooh, that's a good question. Oh, Lord. Oh, that's a good question. Wait a minute now.
We got some problems here.
Ooh.
We got some problems here.
Okay. That's a good question. Would Tio signing with Zuffa affect his rankings near the future? In fact, you know what? I'm going to answer this in the championship rounds because we're past the 2-hour mark. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're in the championship rounds now. We want to hear your thoughts and opinions on everything involving the world of boxing and beyond. We appreciate you being here on the show live with us today. Keep on liking, keep on streaming, keep on sharing. But 30 minutes to an hour, we can answer your questions, comments, concerns, and everything involving the world of boxing and beyond, all for your viewing and listening pleasure to have you question the dawn of this social media sports ethos right here on the Welch Report. Let me see what you got. Let me see what you got to say, and post your questions in the chat. And hey, if you want to keep on supporting the show still, we got Cash App, PayPal, links down below, Super Chat, Super Gifts, Super Thanks, stickers, and all that stuff you can give in the chat section down below. And just straight up, give your thoughts and responses to whatever we discuss, and keep on enjoying the show and share the show with everybody you know. And please keep on liking the stream. But we're in the championship rounds, so let's get to work, shall we? It's time to see what you all got. It's time to work. Let's get it going. And we're going to start it off with this question. Do you think Shakur signing with Zuffa affects his pound-for-pound rankings in the future? There is a possibility. There is. And it's a shame to say, but there is. There's a potential that the signing with Zuffa could affect Shakur Stevenson's ability to move up in the pound-for-pound. There's a real reality that him signing with Zuffa Boxing makes it so he can never elevate in the pound-for-pound top 10. Simply because of who he can fight. And let's be honest. If he beats El Rayo, does that move him up? I have him at 5. 5 or 4. Does that move him up if he beats El Rayo? That's the question. If he beats Conor Benn, does that move Shakur up in the pound for pound? That's the question. If he beat Richardson Hitchens, would that move him up in the pound for pound rankings in the boxing world? That's the question. And the answer might not be yes. It might not be yes. The answer might not be any of those fights push him forward in the unless somebody loses. Unless somebody loses in the pound for pound and he keeps on winning against this good and sometimes great, but on average, good competition level, would that elevate him in the ranks of the boxing world to be better than 5 in the world top 10? I would say none of those fights make him better than 5. He stays where he's at. And if he loses against any of them, well, again, it drops drastically. If he loses against El Rayo, he drops from 5 to 8. Devin Haney moves up above him. If that happens. He loses to Devin Haney's 8. Devin Haney's 8 right now with the win over Brian Norman as the most recent victory. And if he beats Keyshawn Davis, he's definitely elevating in most people's eyes above 8, probably 7. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets pushed to 6 with the lack of activity elite activity that we've seen what Bivol have in his career thus far because of injury. Not holding that against him, just going through the flow of the natural progression of how we talk about pound for pound, it might move him into that threshold. The Archibald Bivol situation. That's that. It could even over Junto Nakatani, because Junto's about 7th on my rankings, about 7th or 8th. Just about, they could kind of flip flop between the two. That's fair, moving above that. If he beats Keyshawn Davis or even higher, if he knocks him out even more, oh gosh. But the biggest thing of it all is simply the only major move would be a loss that would drop him down drastically. Because any of these opponents that he would lose to potentially would be a drastic upset. But if he beats them all, Hitchens, Rayo, Connor, Ben, does that elevate him? No, it doesn't. It stays in play. Again, it makes him stagnant. Because everybody else around him can potentially do something that's great, that pushes them further into the ethos of boxing. Don't believe me? I'll go down the list. Inoue and Bam happens next year. Inoue beats Bam, solidifies him #1. If Bam beats Inoue, elevates him immensely. Benavidez, if he faces off against Jaya Pataya or gets a fight with Canelo or moves up to heavyweight and wins, guess what? That elevates him immensely. Devin Haney beating Keyshawn Davis or Keyshawn Davis beating Devin Haney elevates him. Ryan Garcia beating Conor Ben and then beating Devin Haney hypothetically would elevate him. Within every 3-2 fight, Boots Ennis beating Ortiz would elevate him, most likely above Devin Haney in many people's eyes, and potentially, if people want to really push the envelope, get him right close to Shakur. Would that be fair? I'll leave that to you, but just know there's going to be a real world where if Boots beats Fundora, he gets rocketed up just like that. Shoot, I wouldn't be surprised if after Josh Kelly, he already gets bumped up even more. Not to the same degree, but he gets bumped up regardless because it's going to be Boots. And we know how they're going to talk. We know what the push is going to be if he becomes a 3-belt holder in this division. That's just the facts of what is coming down the line. What Shakur will be doing from this point would not match any of that at this stage right now. With these 3 fights that are on the table, that can happen 1, 2, 3 right now without any qualms because all in-house. Everything to elevate Shakur would all be outside of the house. And right now, nobody wants to come over because nobody likes the owner in Dana White. That's the whole issue. So, yeah, long story short, you doggone right it can affect him. It can make it hard for him to be able to elevate. And in this world, like I said before, trying to find a separation in boxing, you need to get above the noise because everybody's making noise at the same time. This could be a very harsh stop in the what was very loud momentum that we had with Shakur after his win against Tia. It could very well be. So it could be dangerous. And Shakur could live to regret it because he could get left behind even if he keeps on winning. It's a crazy conundrum, but that's what's going to happen. He can get left behind even while winning under Zuffa. It sounds backwards, but that's what can take place right now. Let me see. Nobody ever asked for T.O. We didn't ask for it, but doggone it, we're happy that it happened. We were shocked when it took place, but we were not mad. I tell you what, we weren't mad. Depends on who he fights. Nothing has transpired from what the contract signing, from that but a contract signing announcement. And you're right. We are not trying to jump the gun and say this will happen. Everything that we're talking is speculation. Simply my opinions based on the evidence that we got and what I can see potentially come down the line. But this could all be up in smoke. We could get the 3 biggest fights that we ever want. Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, and whoever else you want as the 3rd brother for Shakur Stevenson without a hitch. Dana White could pull some black magic and get himself some real heavy artillery of fights, just back to back to back to back. All of a sudden, they got a whole welterweight division flushed and ready for Shakur to face off against. Oh my gosh. There's a that can happen in the future. But right now, with what we have been seeing, there is a notable concern that we have to be aware of. And we got to talk through it. When people were demanding that Tank fight, little Buddy Kerr went to Matchroom. When people asked for Haney, Buddy went to Zuffa. The Zuffa situation, now, the Tank and Haney situation, Tank and Matchroom could have still made that fight happen. Shoot, even before he went there, Tank could have made that fight happen with Shakur. I can't really hold that against Shakur to a degree, because even if you want to say, oh, he left before when that fight was on the table. Well, when he didn't leave, when the fight was on the table, Tank still didn't take it. That's been Tank's issue more than anybody else's issue. We talked about that before. But when it comes to Haney versus the Haney fight, Shakur wanted to fight at 154. Devin Haney agreed. Devin Haney reportedly was going to sign or lean to sign with Zuffa. The problem was they could not get that deal with Shakur and Devin Haney locked down. Rumor has it it's because of the fact that we were seeing Shakur wanting to have a catch weight or rehydration clause going into, not on top of the catch weight, a rehydration clause going into that fight with Devin Haney, which Devin Haney did not want to have happen. So that's why that 2-fight deal or that 2-fight guarantee for Keyshawn and Shakur, and Devin Haney gets them both. That's why that didn't transpire, which inevitably is why we didn't get that fight with him signing with Zuffa, which is why we ultimately don't have that fight happening at this point in time at all. Kind of a domino effect of events per se that caused what we see now to be where we are right now. And again, if you view this as it is Shakur's fault, I'm not going to fight you. Like I said, we've covered these topics. If you think he's a duck, I can't do nothing to change your mind. If you think he's avoiding competition, I can't do nothing to change your mind on that. I'm going to just tell you, if that is true, he is going to regret it. He is going to regret it. If that is actually what's going down, and he doesn't want to fight competition, he doesn't want to take on challenges, which again, I'm not saying, but for people that feel that way, then guess what? He's going to regret it. And we hope he does. The end goal was not to argue and say, that's not true. The end goal is to say, if that is true, then he's going to live to regret this decision. Because he's going to experience every consequence that comes with you avoiding competition. And if it's not true, then this shows you the business side of boxing is what is getting in the way of why we can't get the fights that we want. Whatever the case may be, we're looking for the same goal. Make the fights that the fans want to see. And solidify your status as a champion when you have an opportunity to go against an elite type of guy. We're not fighting the different fight. We're looking for the same goal. We want the same thing. I want to see Shakur have a fight against a top 10 pound-for-pound level fighter. Devin Haney or otherwise. I want to see him get big enough to where everybody is calling his name and making it easy to make a fight happen. I want to have these debates. Who's the best technical boxer? Who's the best fighter in the world? Who's the face of the sport? I want that solidified. Sure, there will always be a fight, but at least we have a current answer that we can lean back on. The biggest reason why this whole drama is so exciting is because there's so much uncertainty. We don't know what we're getting. We don't know what's going to happen. Forget just the fight itself. We don't even know if we're going to get a fight in the first place. Why? Because there's so much uncertainty going on with all these moving parts, both around the fighter and the business behind the fighter. We're talking about Shakur signing with Zuffa, and then we're talking about Devin and Eddie Hearn and Dana White boxing each other. We're talking about throwing jabs and throwing, trades at each other's manhood. We got all this other stuff surrounding the fight that ain't even a fight. And then the fight itself is being affected by that background noise. And then when the fight itself actually does take place, well, now it's a whole nother can of worms. Layers on layers on layers of drama. An onion of drama, which is also an onion of opportunity. Every time we peel it back, it makes us cry. Why? Either because we're sad or we're happy or because we're just so confused. Either way, it's getting a reaction out of everybody. Everybody, because the fumes of all the commotion is affecting everybody differently, but it's affecting everybody regardless. You can't get away from it. That's the thing. That's the thing. It's such a. This is why we just want to get this done. This is why it's so important to get this done. To have all of this stuff squashed. More important, this is why we were saying we hope that Zuffa works out. I may not trust Zuffa. This is why I was saying I hope Zuffa at least works. Because if it works, also I think I got what the world. You know what? I got stubble. It's stubble. I shaved my mustache. Upper lip is itching because I got stubble. Oh gosh, I can feel it growing. Ooh, it's I need some more. I need some. What's that? I'm probably gonna use a different cream next time to shave. Regardless of which, I digress. From personal upkeep aside, this is why we're asking for Zuffa to work. Because if Zuffa does work, and the model that they want to have works, a lot of this stuff can go to the pasture, out the way. We're good. We know what's going on. We have ourselves some consistency. But with Zuffa in the mix now, right when we were about to have the very type of one fight hub that HBO used to have or Showtime Boxing used to have, where more specifically all the big fights were happening under the same banner, under the same umbrella, with easier access to just say, you're here, I'm here, we're going to make something happen. That is where we were almost at with every major big time player in the fold. And now it's not there. And because it's not there, we got to say, well, so close yet so far. More importantly, this could cause everything to splinter right when the House of Cards just about came together. And we don't need that. We've had the clearest perception of consistency and near harmony between the war of promotions that we've had for over 10 years. Never thought I'd see the day, and we almost got it. And then one person said, I'm going to do my own thing. Like Miles Morales. Brother, I hope you did it right, because if you picked wrong, this could not just affect you. This could upset the harmony that we almost got. And Lord knows I don't want that. Oh, gosh. I can't take that. Because if this splinters off into warring factions again, we may not ever get it back. We may not ever get this back. This closeness to the other opponent, you're here, I'm here, and where I want to go to after this is also here. We haven't had that in who knows how long. If this goes away, but will we ever get this level of closeness to competition again? I don't think so. This is the one opportunity where I was like, brother, all hands on deck. We need everybody here, front and center, doing on the same page. I don't care if it is Matchroom. I don't care if it's DAZN. I don't care if it's Top Rank or PBC or whatever the world. If it's under DAZN, at this point, go there just for the sake of we can finally get some consistency in this sport. That's all. And we were right there, and now am I backtracking to oblivion? Am I backtracking? Because if Shakur took a chance, other people may try to take a chance too. And if everybody starts taking chances, well, everybody starts splintering off, and then now we get into the invasion angle in the WWE. The WWF, at that point, I think it was WWE. The WWE versus WCW. That whole invasion angle that happened in wrestling returns into that again. And good gosh, yeah, it was exciting, but everybody wasn't in the same hub. And Lord knows we want that. Lord knows we want that. Absolutely. Let me see. Let me read you all's chats. They said the same thing about Bud versus Spence. Bud had to take his butt to the PBC for it to be made. Haney and Shakur already agreed to 144 catch weight, but then signed with different promotions. Yep. They did. They absolutely did. And I was upset. We covered that whole drama and exactly why that happened. And again, allegedly it was because of the rumored catch weight that Shakur tried to implement that Devin Haney and Bill Haney did not want to sign with. So they did not sign with Zuffa. Now we're just going to stay and sign with DAZN, Top Rank, and we'll just take the Keyshawn Davis fight. And if you'll come back around, so be it, but we're not going to take your demands. That's what I understood as to why this whole thing fell apart. But again, it's a shame. I hated it. I despise it. But let me see. Stephen Bowden, what's going on with you? How you doing? Good to see you. Thank you so much for showing up and showing out on stream. We appreciate you coming in on the show. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you leave a like on the stream, and hopefully you're sharing the show. This has been a phenomenal show today. We're in the last roughly about 10 to 15 minutes on this show before we pack it up and send it home. I want to see what you all got to say. Shakur is not losing to Haney's bum butt. I mean, hey, look, hey now, if we want to say he won't lose, that's fair. And we want to talk about a matchup. I don't think Shakur would lose to Devin Haney if they fought against each other. I don't. I would love to see them fight because I would think Shakur would win. I do. Honestly, I do. Let me see. It shouldn't matter what promotion you with. They all need to fight one another. And you're right about it. But again, we have to understand. And it's frustrating, I know. But we have to understand it's boxing and business. Boxing is a business. Even though it's a sport, it's a business at the end of the day. We are not looking at the NBA or the NFL. Or the NHL, or even FIFA, where it's one conglomerate, everybody's under the same umbrella. Because we're dealing with the same sport, but different, essentially, entities that are all individual. There's no one ruler of the sport. So we gotta have an understanding that the business of boxing is gonna have people moving in a way where we got to make sure that we come out above the rest, not just working with the rest. That leads to corruption, that leads to all the drama, that leads to the backbiting and the jabs thrown and all that stuff. It's the nature of the sport, both in and outside the ring. That's why we can't just say it shouldn't matter. Yeah, it shouldn't matter because we just want to see the best fight the best. But it does matter because we're talking about money. We're talking about millions of dollars. And we're talking about essentially different leagues all trying to go and have the same title. That's the thing. Like imagine if the NBA championship was still the NBA championship, but instead of just the NBA, as we're the ones that have the chip and it's our chip to give out, the league has to fight to have the chip in their possession. The entire league. They got to play against the Euro League. They got to play against the French League. They got to play against the German League and all these other leagues from all these other standpoints across the globe. All got to go and build a roster to go and get that title. And even amongst that title, you can have a championship winning team, and they can either choose to defend their title in the NBA or then go over to the Euro League or go over to the Turkish League and say, we're going to defend our title over there because they're giving us more money. Yeah, it's complicated. It sounds convoluted, doesn't it? But that's what we're dealing with. That's the type of stuff we're dealing with in boxing because there's no one banner. So it does matter, sadly, but everybody's under one house, so now it doesn't matter as much, except for Shakur. Everybody else is under the same umbrella. That's why we can get stuff happening a whole lot quicker, a whole lot sooner. Undisputed, more likely, because now we're all at the same table. The level of power is now evened out a little bit because we're all under one banner of DAZN. And it does make a difference. Excuse me, it does make a difference. Let me see. I see Zuffa registering with sanctioning body. Remember, Welch was signed to Pro Box and fought Tank. He was. Now, Pro Box has also been kind of a stepping up point for fighters to go through in their careers. Lester Martinez just won an interim title on Pro Box. Cardenas fought on Pro Box after fighting against Inoue. Pro Box has been kind of a perfect liaison for fighters to go through and sign with before moving to the bigger corporations, or we don't got a fight going through, we'll gladly work with Pro Box and we'll put a fight on here. Great. And if Pro Box gets big enough, they can turn into something substantial. They really can. They really can. Because they've been doing stuff the right way. Pro Box. I love what they've been doing as a literal all in-house entity. Don't only backed by, like it's like one dude who's like a multi-millionaire, but it's entirely his money and nobody else. So it's like, it's just him against the literal globe. And they've been able to do some really good stuff with the fights they've been able to put on. And Zuffa would want to go and do a similar thing. Well, rather, can go and do a similar thing. But the difference is they are not willing to. Here's the problem. The entire identity of Zuffa would go against everything if they registered with a sanctioning body. Because they will be playing along with the rest of the pack. Zuffa's entire existence is to make everybody obsolete. That's it. Zuffa boxing, going after Shakur, was to go and tell the world, we're better than you. Zuffa getting into existence was to tell the world, we're better than you. Dana White coming in here and talking the talk was all to push the envelope, just like the UFC, we're better than you. And we are doing everything our way. We don't need your system to work for us. We can make a big enough star to be a cross-promotional event with Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather, but we made that ourselves. We don't need boxing to be great. We will make boxing in our own image the great way we aspire it to be. We're changing the sport, not the sport is going to change us, and we're great under your limits. We're going to make our own and do what we want to do. The very identity of Zuffa is rebellion. That's what Zuffa is. It is rebellion. The whole makeup is the rebellion. They are wanting to be the enemy. They are in the business to go and make you obsolete. They want to kill the giants. That's what they want to do. They want to kill every giant that is here in boxing and make it so that all of y'all are dead on the ground. I wear your heads on my hip as a trophy. Because I slayed everybody and I'm the last one standing. That's what Zuffa wants. That's what Dana White wants. He's bloodthirsty. He's hungry. He's vicious. He is maniacal from the standpoint of his disdain for everybody else in boxing. And so him working and registering would be one of the biggest pitfalls of Dana White, because it would signify a level of defeat. I had to do what you all do to be great. That's not what I wanted to be. That's a sign of failure to him. So that's a sign of, in all honesty, that's a sign of waving white flag. Dana White does not want to do that. And so I'm not saying it won't happen. I'm just saying it's very less likely because of what Dana and Zuffa represent as a whole. That's the thing. Again, at least in my eyes, that's what I see. Let me see. They are clearly playing ball if they are working with Ryan and Ben. No, they are. But I view that as a little bit different because that is a individual wanting to say, we'll come across the aisle and do what you do. But again, he came over here. Zuffa's going to view it as he came to us to make a deal. And so we'll play ball, again, if it fits under our idea of we're still on top. I guarantee you, they signed Conor Ben first. And then Conor Ben was able to make the fight with Ryan Garcia. Dana's going to be able to spin it and say, hey, look what we did. We got Ryan Garcia to come over here. We got one of the bigger stars in the sport to go and nix what everybody else was doing and come do business with real people that know what they're doing. See what we can be a part, see what we can do. When you give us the chance, we can make big time fights with big time names because we're a business that can attract anybody. Even if you, the organization or the promoter, doesn't want that fighter to work with us. That's how much power we can pull. He can spend that. He can't spend registering with the sanctioning body because then that's just, we gotta operate exactly like everybody else. When we just said we hate and don't view the sanctioning bodies as anything relevant except for the Ring magazine. He said that publicly. And so that would be completely backtracking. And so that it's like I said, there's a whole bunch of different layers as to why certain things can and cannot happen with Zuffa. Because certain moves, what they stated so boldly when they started this, and what they potentially would have to do to keep going, would compromise the things that they've said going in from the jump into this industry. And once they start compromising on those uncompromisable stances that they talked about, like with sanctioning bodies and others, well, now you're just one of us. And now that you're just one of us, we can do whatever we want with you because you're still new to this game. We can really take advantage of you now. That's why it's a tightrope with how they walk with these first 3 to 5 years as a corporation. Because if they mess up wrong, it can get really bad. Let me see. Do you think Spence can get the job done this weekend? I do. Again, I got a whole breakdown on my YouTube channel. I uploaded it earlier today as to what that fight can actually be and who can win. And I got Spence winning. Be clear, even if it's on a hope and a prayer, I got Spence winning this fight.
Hey, look at this.
I do. I really do. And I think it's going to be, they can be successful even with the lack of time inside the ring. But it depends on entirely how much Spence's body was able to come back. Because Tim Still is a beatable fighter for Errol Spence. It's just a matter of, has he lost his ability to go and drag the spirit out of his opponent like he was at 154. And if he can do it at 160 now, which is a bigger division with even bigger frame, he potentially can be more lethal with the amount of time he's had to recover and rebuild his body the right way. But if not, it's going to be bad. But I do think he can win. I really do. Let me see. I disagree. Turkey owns 60% of Zuffa. If he wants to cross promote, he has no choice. And that is true. That is true. But that is Dana's boss telling him to do something. At that point, yeah, they would have to. Because you're right, he does own 60%. And TKO owns a portion as well. And UFC, WWE, and TKO have a partnership right now, which Turkey Al-Sheikh has also been in part with TKO as well. So he got his hand in all that stuff. How do you think Tyson Fury got to fight over in Saudi Arabia? In WWE, in part because of TKO, Zuffa, and that whole blending of cross promotion. When he fought Braun Strowman years ago. The whole thing about this is Dana doesn't want to do that. Turkey is willing to do that. If Turkey says yes, you got to do it, yeah, you got to do it. Because that's Dana's boss in this situation under Zuffa. He gave Dana control, but he still, hey, do what I told you to do. If he says that, sure, it'll happen. If he doesn't, though, Dana's gonna be hard pressed to say we don't want to make we don't want to make that compromise. It would take Turkey most likely to make that happen. If Turkey doesn't say anything, Dana's gonna do everything he can to probably say we're gonna be our own entity and draw the line in the sand as much as possible. Because I want to kill everything that is alive in this sport right now at the threshold of promotions. That's what he wants. That might not be what Turkey wants. That's what he wants, though. So yeah, if Turkey says do it, he'll do it. But if Turkey doesn't say something, he's going to do exactly what he's been doing right now. Let me see. Ben versus Ryan is the only example of a Zuffa fighter getting a big fight so far. Absolutely. That's the thing. It's been only that. Jaya Pattaya lost out on Dave Benavidez. Shakur has no fight right now with any big name with Zuffa unless something gets announced. Again, it just happened. We need to see how stuff unfolds. He said he wants to fight Tank. We'll see if that happens. He said he wants to fight Devin Haney. We'll see if that happens down the line. He said he wants to fight these other names. We'll see what takes place. As of right now, though, nothing's set in stone. We won't jump the gun and say it won't happen. We're just saying it hasn't. So right now, Dana White's 1 for 3. He's 1 for 3 right now in the world of being able to get fights under the belt of his regime at this point in time. And that 33%, that's not bad for the first couple years. But 33% from this point on, yeah, that's going to be bad. That's going to be bad. Hello, wait a minute, hold on. Hello. Can we be heard? Can we be heard now? Let me try to, hello. I'm trying to make sure, I'm trying to, oh, wait, hold on, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Hold on. They're saying, hold on, we're saying no sound. Hold on. Wait a minute. Hello? Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. It's saying it's moving on my screen. Y'all are saying there's no sound. Hold on. Okay, there we go. Okay. Okay, thank gosh. Okay. So Steven's saying I got sound. It might be the soundboard. See, look, I don't know what y'all can. Okay. See, I don't know I don't know what happened. When I plugged everything up, everything was normal. My levels seemed set, and all of a sudden, y'all saying that your eardrums getting busted out the first couple seconds. I don't know I don't know. No. See, Steven, no. It's definitely my computer. I'm watching. It's definitely my computer. It's something on my end. I got to make sure I get it fixed. I'll take accountability. I don't know what shifted. Some setting shifted. I know that for a fact. that's causing either things to go mute or things to be way too loud. I got my stuff set to like egregious levels of low just to sound stable and relatively clean and not going. Cause if I turn my mic up now, you're gonna be throwing your headphones. That's what happened in the first couple seconds. So, but if we're good now, we're great, perfectly fine. We can keep going. What was I saying? I done forgot what I was saying. What was I saying? But yeah, Ben Ryan, 1 for 3 is good so far. 1 for 3 after this for big time fights, or even just good fights that have people caring about the fight itself. That needs to happen more abundantly. Because if not, we got ourselves a problem. I can be the first to say that. We have to. You got to be better than this. Either work with people or you keep on plucking people from the other promotions with the amount of money that you can get or give out because of the backing of Turkey, the backing of TKO, and the pockets of Dana White in particular. You can pay some people. Are you going to pay some people? More than just Shakur, Conor Ben. And Jai Pataya. Because we know Dana's stingy. And he might try to do it again over here. Again. And if he does that, that can be a problem. Let me see. Hamza Shiraz is a Turkey fighter, but he hasn't signed with Zuffa. All the Saudi fighters are Turkey fighters, but haven't signed with Zuffa. Yet Turkey owns 60%. Yeah. I mean, we went through the whole situation of how they got incepted. Because Turkey wanted Dana White to be a part of a boxing promotion, helped him fund and make TKO, or fund and make Zuffa. TKO, who is the bigger conglomerate, backed Turkey Al Sheikh and is in partnership with Zuffa Boxing. So there's a hand in every pot and there's money to be given out. Will Dana White use that money correctly? Or will he do what he did in the UFC and try to lowball fighters? At this point in time, it seems like he hasn't. But as we know, old habits die hard. Old habits don't die at all for some people. And in boxing, that could be the worst thing in the world. That could be the worst thing in the world. And I promise you, it can be bad. It can be really bad. And in terms of, and again, we're at the end of the show. We're at 2 hours and 40 minutes. And we got to make sure we save some stuff, for Friday afternoon. But I'm going to end this with this. I'm going to end this show with this. And we appreciate all of you tuning in. Y'all been a phenomenal audience without question. We love it and appreciate it. And all the support. But as we wrap up this show, I want you to understand clearly, or as clear as day, my position on this whole situation. Dana White is one bad move away from everything falling to pot in this boxing venture. But Dana White is not one move away from making everything sunshine and roses. The borderline of failure versus the steps needed for success are drastically different and drastically lopsided. And right now he's on that tightrope where everything is walking along fine, peachy keen. But if he fails with Shakur, he's going to fail with everybody else. I can promise you that. If he fails with Shakur, he fails everybody else. Because if Shakur came over here to you and you pull a Terrence Crawford on him where you cannot get him a big fight, he is going to leave. And he will badmouth Dana White on his way out. Just like Oscar De La Hoya got badmouthed by Canelo Alvarez, Ryan Garcia, Edgar Berlanga, and most other big notable names in boxing. Even Virgil Ortiz during that whole spat of dispute. That can happen to him. And because he doesn't have the same standing, platform, or pedigree in the boxing world as all these other people and promoters. It's going to be, we can't trust you. Because the biggest thing about a promoter, can I trust you to guide my career and make me money more than anything? Along the fights and legacy, yeah, but make me money so I can retire with my life and family well off. That's what it comes down to. And Shakur took a chance. But first impressions, you can't make a second one. You can rectify your image, but you can't make a second first impression. And a bad first impression in boxing, in the ring or outside the ring, can kill your career before it starts. And Shakur right now, they did a good job signing him. They did a good job signing Conor Ben. They did a good job signing Jaya Pataya. They've done small and then incrementally bigger steps into this move with Shakur to get them in a great position to launch forward. That is not enough to get you stable. You are still one word away from Shakur saying something bad to kill everything about you as a reliable, trustworthy promotion that people can go to. One thing, that's it. That's it. One word or one sentence from Shakur saying that Dana did me wrong, that's all it's going to take. That's all it's going to take. All it takes is that. Next thing you know, everybody's done. We're off. We are finished with Zuffa. I'm not taking that risk if I'm a big star. Because look at what they did to him. They ain't doing that to me. I can guarantee you. They are one bad move away from ruining their chance in boxing. But they are not one move away from stabilizing their chance in boxing. They still got a ways to go. It's a tightrope that they better walk carefully. And Dana White, you better not mess this up. Because I'm telling you, they're just looking for a reason. And by they, I mean the fighters and the fans are looking for a reason to say you don't belong here. Because you're already losing ground in the UFC. You're already not able to make stars like you used to in the UFC. You're already not paying people in the UFC, and your practices are coming to light. You ostracized Francis Ngannou when he was trying to get fighter pay elevated. You lowballed multiplicity of fighters when you're paying fighters 18% of the total revenue that you're making in a year. While boxing promoters normally pay between 50 and 80% of what they make in a year to their fighters. You're messing up. And that reputation, they watch and listen. And if you ain't careful, it's going to mess you up. I promise you. It's going to bite you in the butt if you ain't careful. But with all that being said, we got to wrap it up, send it home, and get on out of here and get ready for Friday afternoon. And we appreciate all you joining in on the show and being with us on this live stream. But we got to go. We got to get out of here and let you all enjoy the rest of your afternoon. So with all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of The Watchable with me, your host, Jean-Luc Welch. We thank you so much for tuning in and listening to the show. Thank you for showing up, showing out, and being a part of our community and having a great time with us on our show today. If you would, also thank you to everybody who chatted and responded, engaged our show, and supported on our stream with chats and gifts and jewels alike. We appreciate it oh so much. If you want to keep this show going and you do want to fund this show, we have Cash App, PayPal, links down below in the description, super chats, super gifts, stickers, and the like, all for you to help support this channel. We cannot do this without viewers like you. You all are the backbone of what makes this show oh so great and oh so special, and helps us to pay the bills and helps us to go and edify the show to make it better for you to witness and enjoy. And please be sure, if you would, to go ahead and leave a like on the video before you leave. Keep on commenting. One like makes a world of difference on everything that this channel can be and helps us to grow and reach the masses all across the globe. Keep on commenting your thoughts and opinions on what you liked or didn't like about our show. Thank you once again to everybody who chatted and responded on our stream today. Y'all were wonderful. Y'all made for a phenomenal show with us today. If you would, subscribe to the channel. Come on and join the Empire. Be a part of the hottest show in all of the globe right here on YouTube. Hit the notification bell so you know whenever we post right here on YouTube, and you never miss a moment of what we got going on every week this week. And please be sure to do the most important thing, which is to share the show with everybody that you know, so we can keep on building up this empire together. We're gonna be back with you all on Thursday afternoon, or Friday afternoon, same time, same place, same channel, with the championship rounds. The whole show is dedicated to you all, the viewing and listening public, to let you all see to let you all have your say on whatever we discuss on tomorrow's episode. So bring your questions, bring your debates, bring your comments, and bring your energy, because it's going to be a wild ride, and I can't wait to see you all there. But I've been Jean-Luc Welch. You all have been absolutely wonderful. Be safe, be blessed, peace, and love. We are out of here. Yes, sir. Salute to you. We appreciate you on this show. Have a great rest of your afternoon. We can't wait to see you all on Friday. And be safe and be blessed. And we are out of here.